A businessman arrived at his office and found that some very important documents had disappeared from his desk. Police suspect 3 people: Amy, Carla, and Mike. Each of them said, however, that they hadn't even been to the office. Who was lying? It was Mike. Both Amy and Carla are wearing high heels, while the dirty footprints on the floor were clearly left by sneakers. The king of a faraway kingdom was getting old and started to think of announcing his heir. He had 3 daughters, each with their own virtues, and the king couldn't decide which of them would be the best queen. Then one of his counselors suggested an idea. The king should give each of his daughters a teapot filled with water, and the daughter whose pot started to boil first would be proclaimed the heiress. When the day of decision came, the 3 princesses started boiling water. 2 of them really wanted to become the next queen, but in the end, the one that didn't want the throne won the competition. How did that happen? The 2 princesses who lost were a bit too eager. They constantly raised the lids of their pots to check if the water was boiling. And the third didn't care, so the water in her pot began boiling first. In the busiest street of a big city, there was a shoe cleaner who got lots of clients. He offered his services to everyone for free, but anybody who stopped and took his offer left him money before heading off again anyway. Why did they do that? He cleaned only 1 shoe for free, and if the client wanted their second shoe cleaned, they had to pay. Aaron was a poor teacher in a rural school. On the 13th of February, the day before St. Valentine's, he unexpectedly received a letter saying that his rich great-aunt had left him a huge inheritance. The next day, 3 of his colleagues, Sarah, Carrie, and Martha, sent him love letters. Can you tell who was genuinely in love with him and who was only pretending to take advantage of his newfound wealth? Carrie was the honest one. She's wearing a necklace with A and C engraved on it, which stands for Aaron and Carrie. Clearly, Aaron gave it to her as a gift because they'd been dating even before he got the inheritance. Jonathan spent several days in a hospital, although he never even entered the place through any doors. What's more, when he was released, he was perfectly healthy, but still had to be carried out of there. Why? Because Jonathan was a newborn baby. A village in the far north has found itself in big trouble. Someone has poisoned the lake, which was the only source of drinking water for the dwellers. When the police arrived to the place, all they saw was a set of weird prints on the snow. There were footprints between 2 parallel lines. They didn't know the name of the culprit, but they at least knew who they had to look for. Can you follow their logic? The police were looking for a person in a wheelchair and their helper. The wheels would leave those parallel lines, and the helper had to push the chair and would leave the footprints. Jack and his business partner decided to celebrate a very profitable contract they'd recently signed. They both loved hiking, so Jack suggested going to the Alps for a climbing trip. His partner gladly agreed, and Jack took it upon himself to arrange their little vacation. However, the trip went terribly wrong, and Jack's partner got lost in the mountains. Jack couldn't find him, and neither could the rescuers. But upon returning home, Jack was arrested after the police got a call from his travel agent. Why? The travel agent told the investigators that Jack only bought one return ticket for himself. For his partner, he bought a one-way ticket. Someone had broken into Mr. Jenkins' house and taken all his valuables while he was on vacation. His neighbor, Mr. Brown, called the police to tell them about it because he'd witnessed the event. He said he'd come back from work late and saw the lights were on in Mr. Jenkins' house. Mr. Brown knew his neighbor was away, so he carefully approached the window to look inside. The glass was frosted over, so he breathed on it to melt the ice and saw a man in a gray hoodie stuffing valuables into a blue backpack. Then Mr. Brown ran home and called the police. The officers listened to the story and immediately arrested Mr. Brown. Why? The dutiful neighbor had one detail wrong in his story. Windows become frosted over from inside. Then how could he have melted the frost with his breath from the outside? One rainy morning, Miss Riley left her house in a hurry and forgot some very important documents on her desk. She came back in an hour, but the document was gone. She gathered everyone who was in the house that day and questioned them. Ryan, the cook, said he'd been preparing dinner and didn't even set foot in Miss Riley's room. Sal, the janitor, said he'd only come in, turned on the lights to see if cleaning was needed, and left. Rose, the gardener, said she'd been busy watering the plants outside and didn't come into the house at all. Who took the document? It was a collective job. All of Miss Riley's employees were guilty. It was early in the day, so it would have made more sense for the cook to prepare lunch. For the same reason, the janitor wouldn't have needed to turn on the lights. And it was also raining, so the gardener wouldn't have to water the plants outside. There are 4 glasses on the table in front of you. Each of them is filled with water to the exact same level, and in each of them there's an object. In the first glass, there's a baseball. In the second, a pencil eraser. In the third, a wristwatch. And in the fourth, a paperclip. Which of the glasses has more water than the rest? The fourth glass. If you take out the objects from their glasses, the water level will drop because they'll stop taking up the volume. The paperclip is the smallest object, so there's more water in that glass. Humanity is coming to its end. The last man on earth is going about his day, working the field, gathering wood for the fire, making supplies for the winter. At the end of the day, he's getting ready for bed when he hears a knock on the door. He isn't scared and goes to open it. Who's standing behind the door? A woman. Mark's best friend, James, lives in another city, and his birthday is soon, so Mark decides to send him a present. James loves playing golf, and Mark buys him an expensive golf club. But there's a problem. The best postal service in his town only accepts packages no bigger than 3 feet to a side, and the club is 4 feet long. Still, Mark found a solution. What was it? Mark bought a square box with a side of 3 feet and put the club inside it diagonally. Jenny's sister goes to a private party to which Jenny wasn't invited. Envious, Jenny still decides to go, but finds out there's a guard at the entrance who asks all visitors for a password. She hides around the corner and eavesdrops on the other guests. One couple approaches the guard and he says 11. They reply 9, and he lets them pass. The next visitor is a guy to whom the guard says 6. He answers with 4, and the guard lets him through. Certain that she gets the principal, Jenny comes out of the shadow. The guard looks at her and says 110. Jenny replies 108, but the guard doesn't let her through. What's the correct answer? The answer's 90. If you write 11 in Roman characters, it'll look like this, XI. 9 is its mirror image, IX. Same with 6 and 4. With 110, it's CX, and 90 is XC. A man came to the police claiming that a very valuable briefcase was forcefully taken from him in the street. When an officer asked the man if he could describe the person who had done it, the man said he was wearing a full motorcycle outfit, leather pants, a thick leather jacket, and a helmet. The culprit tore the briefcase from the man's hands, hopped on his motorbike, and left. Still, the man noticed the criminal drop something and picked it up. Turned out it was his glasses. The man took them to the police as evidence. After a few more questions, the man was taken into custody for fraud. Why? If the culprit was wearing a helmet, then how could he have lost his glasses? A married couple were staying at a hotel. One night, they had an argument, and the man went out to cool off but forgot both his room key and his phone. When he returned, he saw an unconscious man lying on the floor next to his and his wife's room door. The police arrived and questioned them both. The wife told them she'd heard a knock on the door and thought it was her husband, so she opened it right away. Then the man pushed her, so she smacked him on the head with a candle holder and closed the door from inside. Still, the police took her into custody. Why? The woman thought it was her husband, but still approached the door with a candle holder in her hands. That means she wanted to hit him with it in the first place. Lights out. Now Harriet here was a witch's apprentice. To complete her training and become an independent witch, she needed to pass the final spell exam. Her professor told her that all the information she needed to succeed was inside a haunted book at the library. So Harriet headed there to find it. Take a look around. Can you spot it? Sure, all the books look old and creepy. It's a magic library after all. But only this one's pages are flipping on their own. It must be the haunted one. As soon as Harriet touched the book, a furious ghost came out of its pages and yelled, "How dare you wake me up from my peaceful slumber? Answer me this, or I'll show you horrors that'll make you wish you were a ghost too. I dance on graves when no one is watching. My steps silent and my breath cold. What am I?" It's the fog. Benny and Jack were extreme sports enthusiasts. During spring break, they joined the Airbender Skydivers camp to learn how to skydive. It was finally their turn to try the simulation to test their instincts and readiness for real-life emergencies. Take a look at them inside the vertical wind tunnel and tell me who would survive if this was the real thing. Even though Benny is blindfolded, it would be he who would survive, because Jack here forgot to wear his parachute. Now Nathan was trying to break a record by sailing around the world in just a week. However, he got caught in a terrible storm. His boat couldn't fight the waves, and he found himself cast away on an unfamiliar island. When he opened his eyes, he was surrounded by the angry locals. They couldn't decide how to punish him for disturbing their peace, so they gave him 3 options. They could send him to a cave infested with tarantulas, throw him in a pit filled with venomous snakes, or feed him to the hungry tigers. Which should he choose? He should choose the tarantula cave because although it might be gross to feel their hairy legs on you, they are harmless to humans, most of the time. Zelda found herself trapped at the top of a wizard's tower. She discovered 3 ropes leading out of the window down to the ground. Which rope should she choose to escape? The first rope looks thick and sturdy, but see this sharp brick that it's wrapped around halfway down? That will likely cut it under Zelda's weight. On the other hand, if you take a closer look, you'll see that the second rope is no rope at all. It's a long snake. So that leaves her with the first rope. Just as Zelda was about to climb down the rope from the wizard's tower, a prince back on the ground yelled and told her to be quick, or else she would be caught by the wizard. How did he know? Take a look at this area on the tower. There's a gap where a brick should be, revealing an eye watching outside from within the tower. That must be the wizard. Jonas wanted to surprise his girlfriend on their first-year anniversary. So he booked a table at the new mystery-themed restaurant in town, known for its unique concept where guests weren't supposed to order but were served surprise dishes instead. After they were seated, 3 waiters approached their table. Each had a covered dish on their food cart, and Jonas and his girlfriend had to choose one. But Jonas thought one of the waiters looked suspicious. Who is it? The second waiter may have red stains all over his shirt, but he probably got them from a hot tomato sauce that is here on the second row of his food cart. The third waiter is not wearing regular waiter clothes like the other 2, but look at the dry cleaner's receipt peeking through his pocket. He just left them there. Do you see the weird green slime leaking through the first waiter's tray? Now that looks poisonous. Professor Benedict was teaching the architectural design class at the country's most prestigious university. Rumors had reached him that a student within the civil engineering department was cheating their way through exams without ever leaving a trace. He was determined to catch whoever it was on the first day of the final exam of his class. Take a look at all the students. Can you spot the cheater? You think it's this girl with the ponytail because she has a calculator on her desk, right? Wrong. See the note on the blackboard? It says calculators and rulers are allowed. But check out the ruler the Ronald Weasley-looking guy in the back is holding. It's not a regular one. It has the answers on it. Audrey and Henry were driving across the country for their friend's wedding. As night fell, they began to feel tired and decided to find a place to rest. When Audrey searched for hotels on her phone, she found that there was only one option with available rooms on their route. As they checked in, the hotel clerk informed them that there were 3 rooms available. Take a look at their options. Which room should they choose? The first room has a leak in one corner of the ceiling, which is an immediate deal breaker. And check out the wardrobe in the second room. One of its doors is slightly open, and through the gap, you can see eyes peeking out. Somebody's hiding in there and watching the room. Ew, creepy. So they should choose the third option. Max went deep-sea fishing, aiming for a big catch. Things were great until he hooked a huge monstrous fish that just wouldn't let go. During the struggle, he lost his balance, hit his head, and fell overboard. The current swept him to a deserted island where he found a boat, a raft, and a hot air balloon as potential escape options. Which one should he choose? The boat has a hole in this side, so it's definitely not seaworthy. The raft seems sturdy, but there are shark fins circling nearby. The hot air balloon, on the other hand, might be looking old, but it is filled and ready for takeoff. Cassandra and her friends went to the woods to have a picnic. However, after their meal, Cassandra fell asleep under the sun. When she woke up, she realized her friends had left her there, and they were all gone. She didn't know the woods that well, so she got lost trying to get back. All of a sudden, the path she took split up into 3 smaller roads. The first one led to a swamp with flesh-eating crocodiles. The second led to a bloodthirsty vampire's castle, and the third led to an active volcano. Which one should she take? She should pick the second path. Because take a look at the sky. The sun is still up and shining bright. So the vampire can't hurt her. After leaving the vampire's castle safely behind, Cassandra found herself in the dampest, darkest part of the woods. Suddenly, she spotted something strange. Can you see what that is? It's this teeny tiny bicycle standing next to mushrooms on the ground. As Cassandra took a closer look at it, she noticed that the mushrooms had even tinier doors and windows. When she yelled, "Hello!" a fairy greeted her and said, "I see you're a lost traveler. I'll magically teleport you if you answer my riddle. What has roots that nobody sees, is taller than trees, up it goes, yet it never grows?" The answer is a mountain. Now Simon got a call that he accepted to become a contestant on the new quiz show. So, you want to be rich? When it was his turn to compete, he made it to the final question, which was, how is it possible that a person's birthday is in January, but they celebrate it in the summer? Can you help him win the grand prize? It is possible if they live in the southern hemisphere, where January is one of the hottest months.
Ava got into a serious accident during the weekend. She got a concussion and broke her leg. Still, the very next day, one of her friends saw her riding a bicycle in the park, and she looked fine. How is that possible? Look, the girl who got into the car accident has a tattoo on her ankle. The girl on the bike doesn't. The girl who was riding the bike was Ava's twin sister, Malva. A doctor rushed into the emergency room and saw there were 2 patients waiting for urgent treatment. The man on the left was a tech millionaire, and the lady on the right was a grandmother to 5 children. He needed to think fast who he would save. Who should he choose? He should choose the grandmother. The man on the left has a phone next to him. He could call someone else for help. 3 scientists went to research in the Amazon forest. Bianca had some trouble with the harsh weather, but felt it was worth it in the end. Pablo had a great time photographing the wildlife for his social media page, and Helena got to study a rare species of carnivorous plant. On the last day of their trip, passing through airport security, one of them got caught trying to take something in their backpack. Take a look at the picture. Can you tell who it was? Well, it's illegal to take seeds and plants with you, and Helena had a carnivorous plant in her backpack. Yikes! Mia went to Rome for summer vacation. She was wandering through the streets when she saw an artist's easel was knocked over. He said he had stepped away for 1 second and the tragedy happened. Mia decided to help him solve the case and interviewed a few people. Marco said that he'd been taking photos nearby. Harry said he'd been juggling for a big crowd a few meters away. Josie said that she'd come by just to buy a painting from the artist. And Leo said he had been enjoying gelato at a cafe nearby. Can you help Mia figure this one out? Well, look at Harry's backpack. There are some art supplies sticking out of it. He must have created a distraction to steal it. Yikes! Barbara invited her colleague Sabrina for lunch at her place. Sabrina was surprised she thought Barbara didn't like her. But Barbara went all in for their lunch. She even cooked delicious tuna. She split the fish in half and each of the ladies ate their portion. A few hours after lunch, Sabrina ended up in the hospital with severe food poisoning. After a thorough investigation, the police popped over at Barbara's house and arrested her. But how was this possible? Take a look at the knife Barbara used to prepare the meal. It had a bit of poison on one side. Certainly the side that she gave Barbara to eat. Oh my. You meet a friend for coffee, and she says she will only spill the tea on her latest secret if you can guess her riddle. She says, 5 costs $25, 25 costs $50. If you buy 255, you pay $75. What is it that you're buying, and how much does one item cost? You're buying door numbers, and each number costs $25. It took a decade for Professor Evans' archaeological mission to find a priceless artifact. The professor stored it safely in a vault. The team celebrated the win with a bonfire and went to sleep. The next morning, the artifact was gone. Professor Evans decided to investigate the robbery herself. Jack said he spent the last 2 hours cataloging the pottery they had found earlier. Olivia claimed she spent the last few hours in the rest area getting some sleep. Mark mentioned he'd been repairing the digger all morning. Professor Evans immediately figured out who took the artifact. Can you figure it out too? It was Mark. He claimed he spent the entire morning fixing the digger. But take a look at his hands. They should be dirty from the repairs. A car crashed into a restaurant window and drove straight inside. The owner was horrified and called the cops to investigate. There were 2 main suspects, Julia and Bernard. Each of them claims it was the other person who is the culprit. Take a look at the image. Can you figure out who's lying? It's Julia. If you pay attention to the tire tracks, you'll see that they're the same pattern as Julia's tires. She's the one who did it. Take a look at this picture. Can you guess who is more reckless? Let's see. On the first pic, we see a little kid on the beach playing near the water. His super muscular dad is in the background talking to a couple of women. In the second pic, the little kid is playing catch with a not-so-friendly dog. But hey, his dad in the background is paying close attention. It's safe to say the dad on the first pic is more reckless. You are in Greece, exploring some of the country's ancient ruins. You get lost from your group and find the entrance to a hidden cave. You come across a mysterious chamber with 4 massive doors, each with a unique symbol. Beside it, there is an ancient scroll. When you open it, you find a message that tells you to trust that your mind knows the fleeting nature of time. The first door carries the symbol of a shield. The second door has a crown. The third door features a pair of wings, and the fourth door has an hourglass on it. Which door will lead you to the treasure? The fourth door, the one with the hourglass. The clue was in the last phrase, the fleeting nature of time. It's the hourglass. You walk into a diner and there are 2 very suspicious clients indoors. And one of them is actually a criminal. Who is it? Let's have a look. The first guy looks suspicious, especially since he's holding a defensive device. The second girl looks more innocent. She's just sitting holding a knife and cutting her salad with it. But hey, she's the guilty one. That huge knife is too big for cutting a salad, and it's got a red stain on it. Sarah was invited for a brunch with her new colleagues from work. She recently started working at a tech company. She arrived at the restaurant but didn't see any of her colleagues. Instead, she saw a weird-looking robot. How could she tell that it was really a robot? I know it looks like a person, but hey, look at her wrists. She has USB entrances on both of them. It must have been one of the pranks her colleagues decided to play on her. Maeve quit her job and decided to travel the world. Her first destination was Paris. She didn't know anything or anyone over there, so she arrived and looked for the first hostel she could find. But, oh no, she really shouldn't go inside this place. Take a look at the image. Can you figure out why? This hostel is haunted. There's the shadow of a ghost on the top window. I definitely wouldn't go in. One late summer evening, a thief broke into a renowned artist's studio and stole a rare painting. He didn't manage to get too far though, because a security patrol passed by while he was escaping. The thief stashed the painting under a thick bush and hid behind a nearby wall. The artist was quick to notice they had been stolen and called Detective Summer for help. The detective soon gathered 2 suspects. Take a look at the picture. Which guy did it? If you crawl through a bush with bare arms, they will most likely get scratched. Take a look at that second guy's arms. They're covered in scratches. He must be the culprit. Josh is an elite hunter for all things paranormal. He's called to visit a rich man's house. When he gets to the second floor, his paranormality detecting watch starts beeping. His watch never lies, so he knows there must be some scary creature nearby. Before him, there were 3 doors. Just by looking at them, can you guess behind which door the ghost is hiding? Let's see. There are footprints leading to all 3 doors, but the footprints leading to door B are uneven. So this could be the ghost trying to trick Josh. He walks inside the room and encounters a werewolf. Yikes! After this successful mission, he gets on his motorcycle and drives home. But when he stops at a red light, his paranormal watch starts to beep again. The watch is even more sensitive to ghosts, so he senses there must be one nearby. Take a look at the image. Do you have any clue where the ghost might be? There's a woman standing at the bus stop, next to the red light. Her feet aren't touching the ground and her stare is blank. She must be the ghost. When Josh tries to capture her, she disappears into the dark forest. Josh tries to locate the girls through his watch and walks into the forest too. The watch shows him 3 routes, A, B, and C. Can you guess the correct one? It's Route B. That one leads to the girl. Josh follows the route, but it leads him to a meadow with different trees. Take a look at the image. Can you guess where the girl is hiding? Tree A or tree B? The ghost is hiding behind that tiny tree, next to tree A. If you look carefully at the shadow, the shape is too weird. Josh snaps his ghost device and captures the ghost.
Yeah!
Dan and Jesse are detectives. Early one morning, they got an urgent call from one of their clients, saying they needed to come over ASAP. They got into their vehicle and drove to the location. On the way, they were stopped by a police checkpoint. Dan and Jesse had to get out of the vehicle for an inspection. But Dan noticed something strange. The cop was a fake. How could he tell? The cop was wearing a ripped shirt, but that was not the real issue. His badge said City Police with a U instead of an O. Big trouble there, buddy. 3 vehicles are racing each other for a $20,000 prize. They're driving on a dangerous road, and each of them has their obstacles to overcome. Take a look at the image. Which vehicle is going to win the race? The first vehicle tried to escape those nails on the ground, but the nails were going to puncture one of the vehicles for sure. The third driver may try to contour the obstacle in front of him, but that will make him lose time. The one in the middle has the most chances of winning, since he's large enough to go through that hole. Maya and Rob are a couple famous for robbing expensive stores. One night, they decided to break into the town's most famous jewelry store. In the middle of the night, they arrive in front of the store and see there is a complex lock system protecting the store. Rob pulls 3 keys from his toolbox. One of them opens the lock, but if they use the incorrect key, the alarm will go off. Take a look and give it your best guess to find the correct lock. The second key is the correct one. If you notice, the lower line is missing in the third key, and the first key won't even fit into the keyhole since the lower part is inverted. Detective Saul woke up in an empty room. The last thing she remembers was helping to solve an important robbery that happened in her neighborhood. The room had nothing but 3 paintings hanging on the wall. She also noticed that the door was locked with a super technological code system. Saul uses the pictures on the wall as clues to sort out the code of the lock and see her way to freedom. Can you figure out what the 3-letter code is? The code is ICE. All 3 frames are related to ice. She puts in the code and it works. She's free.
Yes!
Jenny, Beth, and Prim are sisters. Their father tells them he needs to decide who's going to be the heir to the biggest amount of money he leaves behind. He tells them to boil water. The kettle of the daughter whose water boils first will determine who becomes the heir. They all start boiling at the same time, but the youngest's kettle boils first. Why? While the other daughters kept checking by lifting the lid, the youngest daughter kept hers closed, making it boil faster. Way to go. Drake is a businessman and needed to drive from New York to Boston. As soon as he arrived in Boston, he noticed that his tire was punctured at the beginning of the trip. Somehow, his journey was unaffected. How is that possible? The punctured tire was his spare one. Mary and Anna grew up in a middle-class suburban family. After they graduated, both of them moved to New York City to follow their dream jobs. But while Mary succeeded greatly in her career, making a lot of money, the same didn't happen for Anna. Today, Mary is rich and Anna is broke. Take a look at the image of both girls inside their apartments. Can you guess who is who? Anna is the one on the left. Although she looks like she owns some nice stuff, all of her home decor has price tags on it, so she's probably planning on returning these items to the store. The company decided to have a fun day with its employees. A lucky person would win the latest laptop if they could get out of a maze the fastest way possible. Brad and Monica were the only ones who said yes to the challenge, but it looks like they're both having a difficult time. Take a look at the image. Who's more stupid?
Ah!
Oh no!
Let's see. Well, Brad lost his glasses and he couldn't see anything. It's like he's trying to walk through the maze in a blindfold.
Oh really?
And Monica just needs to turn her map the other way around, and she'll make it out okay.
Oh my god.
Jenny is moving to Australia. Her bags are packed and she's ready to leave the house. But on her way out, she noticed she was forgetting a few pretty important things.
No.
She needs to find her passport, her phone, and the note with the address of her hotel. Can you help her find these items? Could Jenny be any messier? Her phone is thrown on the floor next to the couch. The note is tucked in between a couple of books on her shelf, and her passport is next to the center table's feet. Yikes! Harry is out on an important mission. He is a young new musician and he sent one of his original songs to a producer. The producer wanted to release the song without giving Harry any credits, so Harry decided to hack the man's computer. When he accessed his IP, a strange code appeared. Harry needed to decipher the code in order to break in. Take a look. Can you figure out what the code stands for? It's way simpler than you might think. The answer is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All the numbers were shown with their mirror reflections. Easy peasy. Detective Sean arrived at a robbery. Someone had stolen from an Apple store. While Sean was talking to the security guard, he noticed the security guard was one of the robbers. How did he know? The security guard was standing next to a shattered glass that had been broken by hand, and his hand had lots of scratches and band-aids on it. He probably took advantage of the situation and took some things for himself. Noah wants to become a professional dancer, but the dance school only accepts applicants of over 17. He has two sisters. Noah's sister Jenny is twice as old as Noah. Noah's sister Nina is twice as young as Jenny. She turned 17 this year. Can Noah apply for his dream school this year? Yes, he can. Noah and Nina are of the same age because they are twins. So Noah is 17 years old. Noah wants to look good during his entrance exams, so he goes to a beauty salon. One of these hairdressers is an imposter. Can you guess who? Look at the first guy. He doesn't have any scissors. Instead, he only has some spoons. So, he's the imposter. Noah's haircut is ready, and now it's time for rehearsal. Noah arrives at his dance studio. But unfortunately, he can't open the door. Someone changed the 6-digit password on the combination lock. Can you help him crack the code? Take a look at the graffiti on the door. These letters are hints. If we replace each letter with its number in the alphabet, we'll get the code 231911. Problem solved! Noah enters the studio and faces 4 people in creepy costumes. One of them isn't human. Can you figure out who? The third guy is too transparent for a human being. Noah's dance teacher enters the room and the class begins. Can you spot anything suspicious? The teacher is not reflected in the mirror. Noah's girlfriend Shelley works in a hotel. He's visiting her at work. Noah comes across these 2 cleaning ladies. One of them is a visitor from another planet. Can you guess who? Take a look at the lady in green. Her vacuum cleaner is unplugged, but it works. So she's the space stranger. Noah returns home and says hi to his siblings. One of them is in danger. Can you guess who? Jenny mixed sugar and salt. That will make her dish terrible. Not a big deal, but Nina is painting her clothes. She's wearing a facial mask instead of a respirator mask. Her nose, mouth, and eyes are not protected at all, so she's in danger. Noah goes to the shopping mall. He comes across 2 couples. Both look happy together, but one of these couples has a huge conflict. Can you guess which couple? This blonde lady holds a knife very close to her partner, but she just wants to buy it. The other lady looks charmed, but her partner hides poison behind her back. So they are the unhappy couple. The next morning, Noah arrives at the dance school to pass the entrance exams. He faces 5 judges. Can you spot anything weird here? Take a look at the wall. The guy in the painting is moving. Noah begins to dance. Suddenly, he slips and falls. Someone spilled oil on the floor. The judge takes a break and tells Noah that he can try again after lunch. Noah wants to know who sabotaged him. He finds 3 suspects and questions them. Shelley says that she live-streamed on social media during Noah's performance. Bobby says that he was in the toilet because of anxiety. And Susie says that she was applying makeup in the dressing room. Who spilled the oil? Take a look at Susie's makeup bag. There's an empty bottle of olive oil among her beauty products. Busted! Noah performs brilliantly in front of the judges and gets accepted into the school. He goes to a restaurant to celebrate. The waiter brings him something special. Can you guess what just by looking at this rebus? Mayonnaise! In the evening, Noah goes to a concert of his friend Donna. She's a famous singer. Donna's 3 biggest fans show up in the dressing room to meet her. After a while, Noah finds Donna unconscious and calls the police and an ambulance. All 3 of Donna's fans say they took her autographs and left. Noah searches the room and finds a temporary tattoo in the shape of Donna's signature. This means that one of these autographs is fake. Which one? The autograph on the First Lady's t-shirt is mirrored. It's unlikely that Donna managed to sign it this way. The next day, Noah goes to the safari park. He sees a tiger approaching these 2 guys. Only one of them is in danger. Can you guess who? The guy on the left. He's a tourist who's too busy to notice the tiger. Meanwhile, the right one works here. He has a badge, a protective hat, and a lasso, so he should know how to deal with tigers. It's Noah's first day at dance school. He enters the building and faces this scene. This guy loves her so much. Why did he push her? Look in the mirror. A cameraman is standing behind it. They're filming a movie. In the toilet, Noah realizes that he doesn't have any toilet paper. Thankfully, a guy in a stall nearby is willing to share his toilet paper. But only if Noah cracks his riddle. Nice guy. What can pass through water without getting wet? Can you help Noah out? The correct answer is light. Noah enters the local cafeteria. Harry, Aurora, and Carrie are drinking coffee. Meanwhile, Ellison, Lola, and Billy are drinking tea. What does Warren drink? There's a pattern here. The person with 2 R letters in their names drink coffee. And the people with 2 L's drink tea. Warren has 2 R's, so he must be drinking coffee. After classes, Noah takes a walk in the park. One of these people is a cop working undercover. Can you guess who? This lady. She's wearing a police badge. Noah returns home and realizes that his puppy is missing. The policeman arrives quickly. He searches the area and questions 2 neighbors. Ryan says he has his own big dog who's about to have puppies, so there's no reason for him to steal Noah's puppy. Mike says that he's never had pets and he doesn't plan to have them because of his allergy. The policeman arrests one of his neighbors. Can you guess who and why? Mike stole the puppy. He has shopping bags from a pet shop in his house. Therefore, his story is fake. The next morning, Noah returns to the dance school. Oh no! Someone broke into his locker and stole his dancing shoes. Noah calls the security guard and they question 4 suspects. When Billy entered the dressing room, Noah's locker was already open. The cleaning lady says that she only entered this room once to wash the floors early in the morning. She didn't open any lockers. Mike says there's no point in stealing Noah's shoes because his feet are much bigger. And Warren says his parents can afford to buy the whole city, so why steal someone's cheap shoes? Who's lying? Warren. If he's so rich, why is he wearing a fake Gucci sweater? Noah is visiting his girlfriend Shelly in the hospital. One of these three guys is her brother. Can you guess who? The third guy is her brother. They're twins, but with different hairstyles. Noah goes to buy some snacks for Shelly and gets lost in the hospital. He wanders around and finds another door with a combination lock, but he has to figure out the correct 4-digit code to open it. Can you help him? Take a look at these scratches on the door. It's a hint. Each symbol consists of 3 digits. They imply the numbers Noah must enter. So the code is 2517.
Okay, bad news. You got taken. No time to explain. Let's just get out of here. So you find yourself in a dark cell with a dirt floor and a small window at twice your height. There's no food or water, but there's a shovel. Why did they leave the shovel? Don't ask me, I don't know. Just be happy you have it. However, you can't dig your way out because the walls go a long way underground. So, how do you get out? You can still dig and make a high dirt pile that will make you reach the window and get out of there. So you do just that and find yourself in a dark corridor. You have nothing to do but to go straight, hoping that sooner or later you'll find the exit and get out of this creepy place. Half an hour later, you approach a metal door. You have to enter the passcode, but here's a hint. Berlin, 600. Paris, 400. London, 600. Rome, 200. Toronto, what's the passcode? Each consonant in the word gives 200 points, while each vowel takes away 100 points. In the word Toronto, there are 4 consonants that give 800 together. 3 vowels take away 300 points. So the passcode is 500. The door clicks and you leave another obstacle behind. Soon, you approach 3 more doors. Behind the first one, there's an iron block with a movement sensor that will crush everyone who enters. Behind the second door, there's an electric shocker that never misses. Behind the third door, there's broken glass all over the floor. Which way do you choose? You pick the third door, obviously. You're wearing some boots, right? So, walking on the glass is definitely not going to be too hard of a task. You follow the tunnel till you reach the next room. As you step in there, a metal cage falls down from the ceiling and traps you inside. However, there are 3 buttons there. The red button will open the cage, but it'll also open a door with a hungry lion. The blue button will fill the cage with water for 10 minutes, and only then will it open the door. However, keep in mind that people can only live 7 minutes without oxygen. The green button will set the room on fire, but will open the cage door in 5 minutes. Which one do you choose? You should choose the blue button. The water won't be able to fill the cage because it will just splash outside. You'll only have to wait 10 minutes until the door opens, and you'll be able to get out safely. You turn right and immediately bump into a huge guard. Your heart skips a beat and you get paralyzed with fear. To your surprise, the guard looks down at you and asks, "Want to pass?" Speechless, you just nod. Okay. You see, no one here wants to play riddles with me. If you solve one of my riddles, I'll let you go and won't tell anyone I've seen you. Deal? You nod again, and here comes your riddle. What is that invention that lets you see right through walls? That's a window, of course. The guard smiles and says, "Beware of the vampires." Then he moves aside, letting you go. Wow, that was close. And vampires? This gives you chills, but you have to keep moving and get out. And again, another door that requires a passcode. Can you crack it? There's a hint again. You should continue the sequence. OTTFFSSENT. Each of these letters is the first letter of the numbers. O for 1, T for 2, T for 3, then 4, 5, and so on. The last stands for 10, so the next four are ETTF, 11, 12, 13, and 14. Yep, that's correct. The door clicks open. Move! You get into a huge dark room. All the light comes from the candles the room is filled with. The problem is that there are 4 ways, and again, you don't know which one to take. Suddenly, each of the doors opens and 4 people walk into the room. There are 2 men, 1 woman, and 1 teenage girl. They all say they're prisoners too, and the other 3 are vampires. Who do you trust? You should trust the second man. He's the only one who casts a shadow from the light of the candles. The other 3 don't, so they must be vampires. So you rush to the man and you shut the door behind yourself. It'll probably slow them down for a while. As you're running, the man tells you he's been here for at least 3 days. The next obstacle is something he couldn't solve by himself, so he couldn't get out. There's just one try, and if you fail, the exit gets blocked for 24 hours. Finally, you come across another door with a robot guarding it. To let you go, the robot needs you to say the password. The tricky thing is that the password is different each time. The man said that as he was hiding in the room, he saw the vampires passing it twice. The first time, the robot said 12, and the vampire said 6. The other time, the robot said 6, and the vampire said 3. When the man approached the robot the last time, the robot said 8. The man replied 4, but the robot didn't let him in. The door got blocked, so it wasn't the right answer. You nod and approach the robot. The robot says 4. What is your answer? The answer is 4. The rule isn't dividing the number by 2, but saying the number of letters in the word. Your answer is accepted. The robot opens the door and lets you go. Again, another dark room. But as you step into it, you get surrounded by 8 hungry dogs. In the middle, there's a meat cake standing so high on the table that the dogs can't reach it. To calm them down and make them your friends before they make you their dinner, you have to feed them the cake. But here's a tricky thing. The knife is magical and can only make 3 cuts. After 3 cuts, it disappears. Your task is to divide the cake into 8 equal pieces with these 3 cuts. How can you manage that? With 1 cut, you cut the cake in half and get 2 pieces. Then you make another perpendicular cut and get 4 pieces. With your last move, you have to cut the cake in the middle horizontally, splitting each of the 4 pieces into 2 at once. Great job! Now, give each of the dogs a piece of cake and get out of there immediately. You rush to the door and lock it behind yourselves. You're in a tunnel again, and this time there's no light at all. You move in complete darkness, putting your hand to the wall so that you know where to go. You walk like that for at least half an hour when, finally, you see some light. You run towards it and come across another massive door that requires a passcode. Luckily, there's a hint again, but there will be 2 questions appearing one by one. To get the passcode, you have to solve both of them and put the answers together. Ready? How many months have 28 days? All 12 of them, obviously. Okay, next one. Here's the sequence of letters. S, M, H, D, W. What are the other two letters? S stands for seconds, M for minutes, H for hours, D is for days, W is for weeks. So the next letters are M for months and Y for years. And the full passcode is 12MW. The door clicks and you're outside. Finally! There's actual air and sun. But before you start thinking about what happened and what to do next, a police officer comes up to you. With him, there are two ladies wearing paper bags over their heads. "Sir, are you Mr. Jones?" the police officer asks. You reply, "That's you exactly." However, the police officer looks suspicious. "Well, we can't know for sure that you're not one of these criminals pretending to be someone else, so we have to test you. One of these ladies is your bride. Tell us which one it is." And now, you finally remember what happened. It was your wedding morning. You were about to get married, and then you found yourself in that dungeon. Well, the problem is that you haven't seen your wife-to-be wedding dress yet, so you can't even tell which one is the right one. Is there any other way to tell? Think carefully. With their faces covered, these girls are absolutely identical. You didn't need much time. You notice that one of the girls is wearing a wedding ring already. However, you and your bride aren't married yet, so she's not supposed to have one. And the one who doesn't have it is yours. Congratulations! The girl removes the bag, and you see that it's really her. Right behind you, the door opens and the vampires walk out. You're about to start screaming, but they take off their wigs and they turn out to be your friends. So, was it all a prank? Well, yeah, it was. But don't be mad. You had fun, right? Well, most of the time. You ready? Here's another brain-busting workout for you. And off we go. After classes, Margot was studying in the library. At one point, she left for the bathroom. When the girl returned, she found out her wallet was gone. Margot immediately called the police. The librarian said she'd seen some guy, but she had poor eyesight and couldn't remember what he looked like. After listening to her vague description, the police officers questioned 3 students. Owen said he had been studying and hadn't even left his desk until the police arrived. Finn said he'd seen the girl but never really paid attention to her. He was looking for some books. Lucas said he'd been busy talking to his friend on the phone. He hadn't seen anything. Can you figure out who stole the wallet? It was Luca. He said he'd been talking on the phone, but it's prohibited in the library. If he had used his phone, he'd have been immediately kicked out. So, he's lying. During a casual walk deep in the forest, Esme got lost. After hours of wandering, she saw a witch's house. Esme asked the elderly woman to show her the way back. The witch refused, but she was in a good mood and offered a deal. She gave Esme 3 apples. 2 of them were poisoned and 1 was okay to eat. The girl had to pick 1 apple and bite into it. If she didn't get poisoned, the witch would show her the way home. Esme was a smart girl and managed to do it. How did she know which apple to pick? In one apple, there was a worm, which means it was safe to eat. A student was having an exam and he was about to fail it. The professor decided to give him one more chance and asked the last question. It was, "What's my oldest daughter's name?" The student was puzzled. The professor decided the question was too hard and gave the guy a hint. He wrote down 3 numbers, 58, 3, and 11. Can you help the student answer the question? It's a chemistry class. The riddle must be related to this subject. Have a look at the periodic table. The 58th element is cerium, or Ce. The third element is lithium, Li. And the 11th element is sodium, or Na. If you put all of them together, you'll get the name selena. The professor liked the game. When another student was struggling with his task, he gave him another puzzle. The man said, I have daughters. All of them, except 2, have dark hair. All of them, except 2, have blonde hair. And all of them, except 2, have red hair. How many daughters do I have? Can you help the student out? This time, the riddle has nothing to do with chemistry. Pure logic. The professor has 3 daughters. One of them has dark hair, the second is blonde, and the third daughter has red hair. Ben was walking in the park at night when someone knocked him out and stole all his stuff. The guy went to the police. 3 people, Cole, Jerry, and Bernard, were in the park at that time. They got arrested. The detective gave each of them a marker and asked them to write their names on the whiteboard. As soon as they finished, he immediately arrested the right person. Who was guilty, and how did the detective find it out? It was Jerry. Ben was hit from the right. It means the person who did it was left-handed. Among the 3 suspects, that's only Jerry. Really? Ben and Jerry? I think I need some ice cream. A member of an expedition to the South Pole found himself in a frozen cave. He didn't remember what had happened, but he knew he had to get out. The man saw 3 doors and a note saying what was behind each of them. Behind the first door, there was a hungry polar bear. Behind the second door, there was a room filled with poisonous gas. And behind the third, there was a room with sharp icicles falling from the ceiling every second. Which door should the man choose to survive? He should pick the first door. He's at the South Pole. There are no polar bears there. After classes, Nora stayed at the university. She needed to finish her project. She was sitting in the hallway. Soon she got hungry. The girl went to grab some food and left all her stuff behind. When Nora returned, she checked her things and called the police. She told them what had happened and reported her wallet stolen. There were 3 other students nearby. All of them were questioned. Kennedy said she had been texting her friends. Ethan said, I did sit close to Nora for a while, but I didn't see or touch her wallet. Gabriella said she had been in the classroom and just walked out a couple minutes before. The detective listened to them and left without arresting anyone. Why? The detective remembered that Nora had gone to get some food. It means the wallet was with her and couldn't be stolen. The girl lied. 3 women, Sarah, Milla, and Eleanor, went shopping. 2 of them are pregnant, and 1 is a professional watermelon thief. Yeah, I know, but just humor me. Can you tell which one stole the watermelon? It's Milla. She's wearing heels. It's not the kind of shoes pregnant women would wear. Aurora was spending her summer in the countryside. She often took long walks in the forest alone. One day, she saw a huge mansion. It was obvious no one lived there, so she entered the house. It was dusty inside, but still beautiful. Aurora took some pictures and left the place. When the girl came back home, she looked through her photos. She wanted to pick the best ones to post on her social media, but then she saw one of the photos and screamed. Take a careful look at this photo. Can you see what scared her so much? Aurora noticed she, herself, was in the photo. But it's impossible. She was alone in the house. Stella and Adeline were sisters. Their grandmother once presented Adeline a bracelet. But both girls loved this piece of jewelry very much. So sometimes Stella snuck into her sister's room and borrowed the bracelet. One day, Adeline came home and noticed the bracelet was gone. She knocked on her sister's door. Stella opened the door, realized it was her sister, and shut it again. In a couple of minutes, Adeline managed to break into the room. She started searching for the bracelet. Stella told her that this time she hadn't taken Adeline's jewelry. Adeline didn't find anything and had to leave. But on her way out, she remembered something and managed to get her bracelet back. Where was it? When Stella opened the door, she had her hair down. But later, she already had her hair tied up. In those few minutes, she made a bun and hid the bracelet in her hair. On a rainy summer night, Mrs. Miller came home after work. Her neighbor, Mrs. Smith, visited her. The women wanted to have some tea together. Mrs. Smith said her daughter was at a party. She met one of Mrs. Miller's triplet sons there. Mrs. Miller asked which one it was, but her friend didn't know. Her daughter could never tell the guys apart. The problem was all three of them were grounded and weren't allowed to go out until the next week. Mrs. Miller wanted to find out who had broken the rules. She called the boys and asked how they'd spent the day. Ian, the artist, said, "In the evening, I was outside drawing." Ryan, the musician, said, "I spent all day inside writing a new song." Luke, who likes sports, said, "I did a workout and spent the rest of the day reading." Mrs. Miller understood which of her sons was lying and grounded him for another month. Who's the liar, and how did she know? Ian lied. He said he'd been drawing outside, but it was raining. Another day, another walk in the forest, and Esme got lost again. And still, she managed to find the way to the witch's house. This time, the woman had another task for Esme. The witch gave Esme a candy bar and a knife. She was going to perform 7 tricks. After each of them, Esme had to give her 1/7 of the bar. But there was a catch. The knife was magical and could only make 2 cuts. It was also impossible to break the bar or cut it without the knife. How did Esme fulfill these conditions and return home? Esme made 2 cuts, dividing the bar into the following pieces: 1/7, 2/7, and 4/7. After the first trick, she gave the witch the 1/7 piece. After the second one, the girl offered the woman the 2/7 piece and took away the 1/7. After the third trick, she gave the witch the smallest piece back. After the fourth trick, Esme took away the first 2 pieces and gave the woman the 4/7 piece. Then she gave her the smallest piece again. After the 6th trick, the girl took away the 1/7 and gave the witch the 2/7 piece. And after the last trick, she gave the woman the smallest part of the bar again. Bonus question. Hey, if Esme is so smart, how come she keeps getting trapped in the forest? I have no answer. Luna here buys a plot of land with an unfinished house. The previous owner started construction 2 years ago, but he didn't finish it. Luna launches reconstruction, and soon she realizes that the house is haunted. Most ghosts are peaceful, but after a while, some mischievous ghost begins to ruin the house. Luna calls a famous ghostbuster, Phil. He interviews all the ghosts. The handyman ghost says he's been here since the very beginning, because he fell during construction. The ghost doctor says he moved here 6 years ago to hide from people and enjoy silence. And the third ghost used to live in a lake nearby, but then settled here. That was more than a year ago. So, who's lying? The doctor. He says he moved here 6 years ago. But the house itself was built only 2 years ago. Case solved. The local music school is haunted by the ghost of an opera diva. Phil arrives, explores the school, and questions 3 witnesses. The teacher heard the singing from the basement the other day. She went there to check, but it was empty. Nellie, the student, says that he saw the singing ghost in the hallway. And another student, Sam, saw her in the toilet. After hearing their stories, Phil is sure that the students pranked their teacher. Why? Take a closer look at the basement. It's full of dusty stuff. But this smart speaker isn't dusty, which means it was brought here recently. Only students claim to have actually seen the diva ghost. Oh, busted! Phil gets out of the castle and receives a new call. People complain about a ghost on the local pier. Phil arrives at the haunted spot and sees these 3 ladies. Who's the ghost? All 3 are ghosts. If they were living, dense people, their backs would be reflected in the water, not their faces. Phil asks the ghost ladies to leave. 2 of them agree, but the third one escapes to the nearest forest. Phil follows her, but he loses track. Can you help him find her? She's hiding in this puddle. Phil returns home and checks his email. He receives 2 job offers from 2 different ghost-busting agencies. One of them is willing to pay him $1.8 million with an annual increase of $200,000. Another company is offering him a salary of $2 million with no raises. Which job will create more wealth in 3 years? Alright, let's do the math. If Phil picks the first agency, his salary will grow to $2 million in the second year. And in the third year, it will be $2.2 million. So he would earn $6 million by the end of the third year. If he picks the second agency, the math is more simple. 3 times 20. And again, he would earn $6 million by the end of the third year. However, if Phil picks the first agency, he would earn much more in the fourth year. So the choice is pretty obvious. Phil takes the first job, but first he decides to have a brief vacation in a famous haunted hotel. Unfortunately, someone robs the hotel during his stay. The police officer arrives in the morning and interrogates 3 guests. Phil says, "Sir, there was a heavy snowfall yesterday, so I was in my room all day watching TV." Peter says, "I was feeling sick yesterday. I wasn't in my senses. How could I commit the robbery?" And Bella says, "I returned to the hotel about 10 minutes ago. I don't know anything about the robbery." The officer figures out who committed the robbery right away. What about you? Bella is suspicious. She says she returned 10 minutes ago. But there are no footprints outside the hotel except for the officer's footprints. The next morning, Phil wakes up in a haunted basement. He's starving. Suddenly, a creepy man enters and brings him 4 plates of food. He says that Phil can only choose one dish. What should he choose? There's a bug in the first plate. The second one has an unpleasant smell. And the fourth one has nothing edible left. So Phil should take the third plate. After a while, the local ghost offers Phil a deal. If he solves a riddle, the ghost will help him escape. What phrase is represented by this rebus below? Can you help him out? It means, I am surrounded by enemies. Phil keeps on chasing the ghost and falls into a pit. He ends up getting trapped in a cave. Phil comes across 3 doors. Behind the first door, there's a maze. He will be lost for the rest of his life trying to get through. There's a deep, narrow chasm behind the second door. If Phil steps in, he'll fall into it. There's a zombie behind the third door. He loves feasting on humans. What should Phil do to escape? He should open the second door, then open the third one and quickly hide behind the first door. The zombie would assume that Phil entered the second door and start chasing him. The zombie will fall into the chasm and Phil will be free to go through the third door. Phil gets out of the trap and returns to the city. He's walking down the street. Suddenly, a pretty lady approaches him and asks to call the police. Someone stole her bag that had millions of dollars. Phil questions her about the thief. She says she was walking down the street when a guy came running from behind. He was wearing gloves and a face mask. He snatched the bag and ran away. She couldn't even see him. Phil asks, "How come you have scratches all over your face?" She replies that she tried to catch him and he scratched her cheek with a golden ring. It was on his right hand. Phil immediately understands that her story is fake. Why? The lady mentioned that the thief was wearing gloves, so he couldn't scratch her with a golden ring. Phil arrives at his new office. His colleagues give him a big welcome cake. He leaves it in the office fridge to drink tea together during lunch hours. He opens the fridge again and sees that someone bit his cake. Phil questions 4 suspects. Bella says she's been at a business meeting all morning. She hasn't even entered the kitchen today. Sam entered the kitchen only 2 times to use the coffee machine, but he didn't open the fridge. And Hannah says she's on a sugar-free diet. Lily says she was at the dentist all morning, and she just got here. Who's lying? Sam. Take a look at the coffee machine. The sign says that it's broken. Therefore, his entire story is fake. Phil's client sends him 2 pictures of a creepy haunted house. Can you spot 7 differences between them? Here they are. Great job! The next day, Phil goes to check an abandoned castle. He gets trapped in a room with 3 doors through which he can escape, but each way hides some danger. There's a zombie behind the first door. Behind the second door, there's a hungry wolf, and a spooky ghost is waiting behind the third door. Which door should he choose? Ghosts tend to scare people, but they are not dangerous, so the third door is the safest option. Phil finds himself in a hallway. The door is closed and the lock appears to be quite complex. Luckily, Phil meets the local guardian ghost. He shows Phil 3 keys. One of them will certainly unlock the door. However, if Phil uses the wrong key, he'll stay trapped in this cursed castle forever. Can you help him choose the correct key? Only the second key fits perfectly. Take a look at these 3 teachers in the school canteen. One of them is a vampire. Can you guess who it is? Check out carefully what they eat. The third lady has some garlic, so she can't be a vampire. The second lady has taken a bite of food from her tray, so it's most likely hers. But the first guy's food is still untouched, so he must be just bringing it to someone else. Vampires don't really need food. They feed on blood, so that salad is of no interest to him. The Smiths family, Ginger, Ross, and their kids, Polly and Bob, had a celebration and exchanged gifts. But somehow, all the cards got lost. And since all the gifts were packed in boxes of the same size, the only thing that differs is color. Can you figure out to whom each gift belongs? Ginger, the mother, must get the gifts in green wrapping paper because her name starts with a G. Ross, the father, gets the gifts wrapped in red paper. Polly, the daughter, gets all the pink ones. And Bob, the son, has all the blue gifts, following the same logic. On a winter day, Mike went skiing. Suddenly, he found a secret laboratory hidden in the mountains. It was well guarded, but curious Mike managed to find an open door. Once he got inside, the door got instantly shut and wouldn't open again. There in the lab, Mike saw 3 large barrels, each with different stuff inside. The first barrel was literally on fire. The second one was full of acid, and there was a working electric saw in the third one. All of a sudden, Mike heard a voice. Each of the barrels contains a key that can set you free, but you aren't allowed to move the barrels. Good luck! What did Mike do to escape? Hey, it seems like this lab wasn't well heated. There were a bunch of icicles on the ceiling, so he grabbed them and threw them into the burning barrel. They melted and extinguished the fire, allowing him to grab the key. Lame Horse is the most popular club in town, and lots of people hope to get inside. However, security guards are pretty strict, and all visitors must comply with a set of requirements issued by the club management. Visitors must be over 25. They must wear a total black look, and their name cannot start with an A. Now, look at these 3 people waiting at the entrance, who cannot be let in. Well, look at their IDs closely. We have Ivory, who's 27. She's also dressed according to the rules. Now, here's James. He's 24, and he's wearing a red t-shirt. Out. The last person is Dylan. He's got a total black look, and it seems like he's 30. But his ID is surely fake. How can someone be born on February 31st? So, only Ivory can enter the club. Josh wanted to surprise his girlfriend and buy her a present of her dreams. But he wanted to make it a surprise, so he couldn't ask her what exactly she wanted. He decided to check out her favorites on a website she always used for online shopping. But her laptop asked for a password. Still, Josh managed to unlock it. How did he do it? Look at the sticker on the desk. It looks like a bunch of misspelled words. But each typo actually helps figure out the password. O in laundry, extra I in table, extra I in mice, V in the word answer, and extra E in the word cat. Altogether, it's olive. Chastity, Chris, and Jacob are at the counter near an airport gate. All of them claim they must be on the flight to Houston. But the airline employee says there's only one seat left. The computer has frozen, and he can't check the list of passengers to verify their claims. So he can only check their boarding passes and try to understand which one is real. Can you help him? The only real boarding pass belongs to Chastity. Look, the one that Chris has mentions his date of birth, which is never printed on boarding passes. The one that Jacob has doesn't have the flight number, which is almost impossible. Well, welcome aboard, Chastity. Liam was traveling on a train where he met Brian. Now, Brian invited him to have coffee in the dining car, and Liam agreed. For some reason, Liam left the train in terror at the next station without taking his belongings, even though it wasn't his destination. Why? The thing is, on the way to the dining car, Liam spotted something he couldn't see while seated. There was a huge tail visible underneath Brian's coat. He couldn't be a human, and having coffee with him could cost Liam his life. Ew. Ashley decided to change her hairstyle and headed to the nearest hair salon. There were 3 hairdressers available. Which one is safe? Look, the first hairdresser has just finished working with the previous client, and the client is literally crying. The hairstyle is horrendous. The second hairdresser has knives instead of special scissors. She doesn't seem to be safe either. However, the third hairdresser seems completely fine. So Ashley should pick her. Mary is a beginner gardener. She decided to grow some flowers in her garden, and there are already several sprouts. Yesterday, she watered them as usual, but today she sees that all of her sprouts have perished. Why? Mary should have checked the weather forecast. Yesterday, the sky was covered with gray clouds. It was going to rain. So the flowers got a double portion of water, which is bad too. Mary should have covered her plants instead. It was Jenny's first month at her new school. At the end of the month, she found a note from Barry in her locker. At first, she didn't get its meaning, but when she figured out that it was encrypted, the meaning became clear to her. Take a look at the note. Can you figure out what Barry wrote to Jenny? To decipher the note, you need to understand that the numbers correspond to the placement of the letters in the note. The first letter is I, the second is L, and the 8th is K. Now keep doing this until you decipher the whole thing. The note says, I like you. It looks like Jenny has an admirer. Martha is standing on one side of a river and her cat is on the other. Martha is calling her cat, but you know, those guys aren't into water and swimming in general. However, the cat immediately starts crossing the river without getting wet. There are no boats or bridges. How is it possible? The river is frozen, so the cat can just walk on the ice. In 1890, Bart was 15 years old. Strangely, in 1895, he was 10 years old. How is that possible? The thing is, Bart was born in 1905 BCE. The calendar worked the other way around back then. Linda and Porter were walking in the woods when they saw an old hut. They walked inside, but the door through which they entered suddenly vanished into thin air. Instead, 3 new doors appeared in front of them. Behind the first one, there were venomous rats. Behind the second door, arrows with poison on their tips were flying across the room at head height. And the third door hid a 30-foot deep pit. Which door leads to freedom? They should choose the second door. They don't need to walk, they can simply crawl under the arrows. Pamela met a stranger yesterday, and she immediately knew who he was. She hadn't seen this person before, and no one had ever described him to Pamela. This person wasn't a celebrity, and he wasn't doing anything unusual. How come she knew who he was? The man was Pamela's friend's twin brother. Anna went grocery shopping and bought a lot of products that needed to be stored in the fridge, like meat and cheese. When she returned home, she realized that her fridge was already full, and she had nowhere to store all those products. What should she do? Anna needs to reconsider the way she stores stuff in her fridge. For example, rice and cookies don't need to be kept there. Once she takes all the unnecessary stuff out of the fridge, she'll have enough space to store the dairy products and meat.
Wow! While working late at night in a top-secret laboratory, Michael finally managed to create the DNA of a hybrid monstrous creature. After all that hard work, he decided to grab a quick coffee and donut as a little reward. But he came back and saw that the specimen had disappeared from the incubator. Michael lined up Ryan, Jeff, and Laura and confronted them. Who took an important top-secret piece of research I was working on? Ryan said he'd been busy doing some additional research on a separate project and had no idea what was going on. Jeff said he hadn't touched the hybrid creature and had been in the archives digging through some files he needed. And Laura said she'd been in the bathroom the whole time. So, who took the specimen? Michael never mentioned that he was dealing with a hybrid monstrous creature. Jeff just let himself get caught. Better think smart next time. Anne absolutely loathes winter, but just like anyone else, she has to go out and do stuff. She had just moved to a snowy city for work and experiences some of the coldest winters. But she managed to make it to the mall to do some quick shopping through a huge blizzard. When she came back to her parked car, she discovered that someone broke into it and took her belongings. When the police lined up the 3 suspects, they each gave their stories. Francesca said she had been polishing her car outside and didn't know anything. Ned said he'd been shopping for clothes, and Earl said he'd been sitting in a cafe on the upper floor of the mall. The police arrested the suspect. Who was it? Francesca. She was polishing her car outside in the middle of a blizzard? That's not only illogical, but not safe either. She just gave herself away. You wake up and find yourself trapped in a room with 4 doors in front of you. You don't have enough time to choose which door leads to freedom. You hear a monster coming, so you check out the doors quickly. The leftmost door has a sign on it saying, "Take the door on the right to break free." The second door also has a sign saying, "It's the right door." The third door has a sign, "Freedom is just right in front of you." And the last door has a sign, "Don't trust the signs." Which door should you choose? The last door. It says not to trust the signs, but it doesn't mean that they're lying. The first door says to take the door on the right. Not necessarily the last door on the right, but just the one on the right. The second one says it's the right door. Not the correct door, but the right door, as in the door on the right. The third door says freedom is just right in front of you. That just doesn't make any sense, does it? So it's the last door on the right that leads to freedom. Mason was extremely happy when he got the news that his sister Jane was coming to town. He had just started a new job and couldn't wait to host her for the first time. She was only able to see some nice pictures of the places he visited, including where he lived. When he picked her up from the airport, he noticed something slightly off about her. She was robotic with her responses and seemed stiff with her movements. She wouldn't eat and only insisted that she wanted to rest up. Strange. Had he been watching too much sci-fi? After a while, Mason hears a knock on the door, and to his surprise, it's Jane. But I thought… Jane tells him that the Jane in his apartment is an imposter. When the Jane in the bedroom goes out and sees the other Jane sitting on the couch, they're both in shock. They both try to convince Mason that they're the real Jane. But who will Mason believe? It's pretty normal to come back from a trip pretty tired and wanting to rest. But how did the second Jane know where Mason lived without prior knowledge? And she didn't even break a sweat running up to the apartment. On a nice day, Vivian, who lived in a town on the seashore, decided to go for a hike alone. But after hours of trekking, she ended up on a section of the forest she wasn't familiar with. Before her were 3 paths. One path had bare footprints leading away. Another had human shoe prints, and the third was right by the river. Which one should Vivian take to find her way? The river path. Since she lives in a coastal town, the river mouth most likely ends up in the sea. That way, she could figure out where she is. Melissa is sharing a train car with 3 other people. It's a very hot day and the air conditioner doesn't even work. James starts complaining and only calms down after opening the window. Melissa lays down her red silk scarf her grandmother gave her next to her. Judith compliments it. Robert, a senior, mentions that he forgot to bring a gift for his wife who will pick him up from the train station. James has a crush on Judith. After a while, Melissa goes to the bathroom and comes back to find the scarf missing. Who was the one who took it? None of them. It was a hot day and James opened the window. The wind sent the scarf flying right out of it. Some zombies have Diego trapped in a room. They're surrounding him. He's stuck and can't escape. Their arms are breaking in and reaching for him. When Diego looks around, he realizes that he's in a small newspaper stand with magazines and pocketbooks. And looking around him more attentively, he finds a roll of tape nearby. How can he avoid those nasty bites? The only way for Diego to escape will be to tape those magazines around crucial parts of his body where they can't lay his teeth on him. It'll be light enough for him to run away from the zombies without getting hurt. Plus, he'll have plenty of reading material for the road. Evan got lost in a forest, and just his luck, it was snowing. The only thing the police searching for him found were 4 parallel lines leading into the forest. Something doesn't seem right, they thought, and took several people into questioning. Nick said he had been at the store buying some groceries. Vanessa said she had been babysitting. Christina had been at work the whole time. After hearing the stories, they arrested Nick. Why? Nick was in a wheelchair. The 4 parallel lines were left by Nick rolling into the forest and back out. It's the beginning of a new school year, and Dave started a new job as a computer studies teacher at a local high school. Another fellow teacher, Roy, didn't really welcome him because he wanted that position. But at the end of the day, there was a security breach which leaked out a lot of important information about the school. When the police questioned everyone, including Roy and Dave, they each gave their stories. Dave said, "I was checking exam papers and was at the staff room the whole time." Roy said, "I was preparing homework for my classes when everything happened." Who should the police arrest? Who was lying? Dave. There wouldn't be any exams on the first day of school. Gareth is in a pickle. He's at the police station looking at the lined-up suspects, one of whom stole Beth's bag while she was having a picnic in the park. He observes them. Beth describes the culprit as someone big, no hair, and wearing a black jacket. All the men lined up matched the description. Gareth looks at each of them, and they all have one distinct trait that makes them stand out from each other. Suspect number 1 has a beard. Number 2 is wearing shorts. And number 3 is wearing glasses. Gareth knows immediately who to arrest. Who is it? Suspect number 1 has dirt all over his boots. The rest are all clean. He ran through the mud tracks while Beth was having a picnic. Daisy returned home and noticed that someone had broken into her apartment and stolen her diamond necklace. The police arrive and question 3 neighbors. Greg was painting his ceiling. He was wearing headphones, so he couldn't hear anything. Bianca was hiking with her bestie all day long. They've just returned home. Glenda only went out once to walk her dog. She thinks she heard some weird noises from Daisy's apartment. Who's lying? Greg, take a look at his ceiling. Does it look freshly painted? Busted. Daisy works as a manager at the local circus. Her task is to prepare their new location for future performances. She arrives at the spot, takes a look at the stage, and freaks out. Why? Take a closer look at the sign. It says citrus instead of circus. Daisy goes to her favorite cafe to have lunch. There, she sees these 3 people. One of them was poisoned. Can you guess who? The third guy didn't even touch his cappuccino. He must be just sleeping. The second lady is awake. She has some cappuccino mustache, nothing criminal. But take a look at the first guy. He's wearing glasses, so we can't say for sure whether he's awake or not. Meanwhile, his phone is ringing in his pocket, but he shows no reaction at all. That's suspicious. So he's the poisoned one. After lunch, Daisy enters one of the dressing rooms and finds their star, Clown Roger, unconscious on the floor. Daisy calls the police. They arrive very quickly and question 3 witnesses. Bob says he was just walking by. He has never seen this clown before. Mia says that she's a huge fan of Clown Roger, and she's very sorry. And Nick says that he's just a handyman. The circus hired him to fix problems with electricity. Who's lying? Bob. He said he had never seen this actor, but he's wearing a t-shirt which has a print of Clown Roger's face. So Bob must be his crazy fan. Daisy visits another star of the circus, Dave. He's a talented acrobat. Dave has just received a mysterious basket of candies with a letter. The sender is unknown. The letter says, "Dear Dave, thank you very much for your talent. I really like you. Let's go out sometime. Best wishes." There's no name on the letter. Dave has no clue who it could be from. Luckily, there's a short little riddle. 3rd of August, 4th of February, 2nd of May, 3rd of December, and 6th of October. Can you help him crack the code? The 3rd of August means the third letter in the word August, which is G. The fourth letter of February is R. The second letter of May is A, and so on. So the name of Dave's secret admirer is Grace. The circus company throws a corporate party. They ask all employees to wear some Halloween costumes. So Daisy heads to the shopping mall to get herself one. But they only have 3 options to choose from: a witch outfit, a mermaid costume, and a vampire costume. Can you help her make the best choice? Take a closer look at the witchy costume. This tag says it's made out of paper, so it's a bad idea to wear it at a party. As for the mermaid costume, the tail is torn at the back. So Daisy should pick the vampire outfit. Daisy arrives at the party. Everyone's dancing in their Halloween costumes, but one of these 4 people is a real vampire. Can you guess who? Let's see. The guy on the left is drinking something red, but he has a shadow, so he can't be a real vampire. The second lady looks pretty creepy, but if you look closely at the mirror on the wall, you'll see her reflection, so we can exclude her. We can also see the reflection of the 4th guy in the mirror. Only one lady is left, so she must be the real vampire. Daisy's town has an old haunted museum. Daisy and her friends decide to spend Halloween night inside the museum to have some spooky time. As the clock strikes midnight, the portraits hanging on the walls of the museum come to life. A portrait of a lady starts screaming for some help. She tells Daisy that the former employees dared to make a fake version of her portrait, and she wants Daisy to destroy it. But Daisy takes a look at the fake portrait and spots 3 differences from the original. She assures the lady that it can't hold a candle to the original. Can you spot them too? The lipstick color, the pendant, and the ribbon on her hair are all different. Then Daisy goes to the cafeteria to grab some snacks. There are 3 options only. Which one should she choose? Take a look at the date that's written on the potato chips bag. According to it, the chips expired in 1924, so that's a pass. The small note below the ice cream says it's earwax flavored. Nobody wants to taste that. So Daisy should pick the popcorn. Daisy keeps on walking and comes across a building. There are 2 ladies in 2 different apartment windows. Both seem to be busy with household duties, but one of them is dangerous. Can you guess who? The second lady is just getting rid of pests. There's nobody in the room and she's wearing a mask. But take a look at the lady on the left. There's an open bleach bottle next to the food she's cooking. Ew, no thank you. Daisy keeps on walking and faces something curious. It's a 5-letter word that is under you. If you remove its first letter, then it's over you. If you remove its first and second letters, it's all around you. What is it? It's just a chair. The next morning, Daisy arrives at the circus. She finds out that Dave was kidnapped by a mad scientist. He locked Dave in his lab in one room and put a zombie in another room. Daisy arrives at the lab to rescue Dave. She sees these two doors with two signs. Only one of them tells the truth, and another one lies. The sign on the first door says, "Dave is here and the zombie is in the next room." And the sign on the second door says, "The zombie is in one room and Dave is in the other." So, where's Dave? Dave is in the second room. If door 1 tells the truth, then door 2 is true too. This is contrary to the terms of the game. Daisy rescues Dave. They escape through a long corridor together. Soon the corridor splits into 3 tunnels. They are signed West, East, and South. The pair also see some weird inscriptions on the wall. Which corridor should they choose? Daisy and Dave should tilt their heads and look at the inscription upside down. This way, it reads South. The guys keep on walking and find a door, but it's locked. They need to enter a 4-digit password. Luckily, there's a hint nearby. It's a note that has 4 images. Can you help Daisy and Dave crack the code? Each digit corresponds to the number of colors of the objects. This clover only has 1 color. The Santa hat has 2, the banana has 1, and finally the rainbow has 7. So the code is 1217. Daisy and Dave open the door and escape from the lab. They find themselves in the middle of an island. The guys hit the road and drive to the pier, where they face these 3 bridges leading to the mainland. Sharp rocks and glass cover the first bridge. The second one is swarming with venomous snakes. Hot orange lava is boiling on the third road. Which route should they choose? They're driving an open-top car, so it's dangerous to choose the snakes. The first bridge will destroy their tires, so they should pick the third route. The ocean will soon cool the lava down and turn it into stone.
One Sunday, Tom told his brother Dan that he was going hiking with his friend Chris. The next Saturday, the police found Tom unconscious in the forest. Dan said he had been working all week. As for Chris, he was found wandering along the highway. He explained that he had gotten lost in the forest almost immediately after they had arrived and just found his way home. One of the guys was lying. Who was it? Look at Chris. He's too well-shaven for a man who spent a week in the woods. There are 5 girls in the room. Ashley is drawing, Olivia is reading, Maria is playing hide-and-seek, and Emma is tidying up. What's Sarah doing? Sarah is playing hide-and-seek with Maria, of course. What number is missing? A small hint, it's not number 4. Number 5 is missing. The subsequent number of 234 is 235. In the small town of Sunshine Valley, 3 teachers went on a sick leave all on the same day. Jenna says she got into a car accident and broke her leg, so she can't walk.
Emma complained she had a very unfortunate workout and injured her neck, so she can't turn her head. And Tina says she fell from a bike and fractured her arm. But one of them is lying. Can you tell who? It's Jenna. If she can't walk, why does she even have a crutch to hold her up? If it's raining at midnight, can you expect that in 72 hours it'll be sunny? Nope, in 72 hours, it's going to be night again. In the room, there are two people, both of them sitting. But if one of them stands up, they won't be able to take the other one's place whatever they do. How is that possible? The second person is sitting on the first one's lap. A father tells his teenage daughter, "You arrived very late at 3 a.m. and made us all worry a lot. I don't want this situation to repeat." His daughter, though, replies that it will never happen again. How can she be so sure? The father was talking about the birth of his daughter. An art expert paid big money at an auction for a painting that he knew didn't cost anything. He was an honest man and didn't have any criminal intentions. Why did he buy this picture? Although the painting cost nothing, its frame was a beautiful and expensive piece of art. A street food vendor has a sign on his stall saying, "1 hot dog, $1.50. 3 hot dogs, $5. He knows it's more expensive to buy 3, but doesn't change his sign. Why? Each time a customer saw his sign, they would buy 1 hot dog, then another, and then a third one, totaling up to $4.50. Thus, everyone's happy. The customers think they're clever, and the vendor gets his sales up. During a fire, a bank was robbed. The security guard told the police that he wanted to save a bag of money, but he had to crouch to tie his boot just in front of the emergency exit. At that moment, the door opened and hit him on the head. When he came to, the money was missing. Why was the security guard arrested? Well, all emergency doors open outwards. You find yourself in a photo gallery. After looking at the wall, you realize that one of the pictures doesn't belong to the rest. You see a raccoon, a llama, a football, and a balloon. Can you tell which is the odd one out? It's the llama picture. The other 3 objects have 2 double letters in their names, but the llama only has 1 double. There's a barrel of water in the yard. You look inside and say that it's more than half full, but your friend argues that it's less than half full. How to figure out who's right without using any measuring tools or removing water from the barrel? Tilt the barrel so that the water touches the rim. If you can see the bottom, the barrel's less than half full. If the bottom is still covered with water, it's more. Sam and his brother John were always fighting. Their mother couldn't take it anymore and came up with a clever plan to stop them. She told the boys to stand on the same piece of paper in such a way that they didn't touch each other, and it worked. The boys couldn't fight anymore. How did she do it? The woman slipped the paper under a closed door and made Sam stand on one side and John on the other. There is a bridge that is 1 mile long. It can hold only 5,000 pounds at one time. That's exactly the weight of the truck that's crossing it. The truck reaches the middle of the bridge and stops. Suddenly, a bird lands on the truck. Is the bridge going to collapse? The bridge isn't going to break down because the truck has already used some gas to get to the middle and therefore weighs less than 5,000 pounds. A young woman is sitting near the window. At first, she's deep in thought. Then, she suddenly decides to throw something out of the window. A couple minutes later, she drops on the floor unconscious. She's perfectly healthy and isn't prone to sudden faints. There was no one outside to have hit her either. So, what happened? She was knocked out by the very same thing she'd thrown out the window. It was a boomerang that came back and hit her on the head. Well, that was a dumb thing to do. Two men are in a room facing each other. One of the men is a psychic and can see into the future. He predicts that in 10 minutes, the other man will be hit on the back of his head. Of course, shocked and paranoid, the other man can't stop staring at the clock on the wall. And exactly 10 minutes later, he's lying face down on the floor. How could it happen? After 10 minutes, the man turned around to see if there was anyone behind him. At exactly that moment, the psychic hit him on the back of his skull. Well, I'm starting to think he wasn't a psychic after all. You walk up to the edge of a forest when suddenly you see a man in swimming trunks, goggles, and a snorkel going out of the thicket and falling on the ground as if exhausted. But you know the nearest body of water is several miles away. How did the weird man end up in the forest? There was a huge forest fire, and the plane that was extinguishing it had to scoop up water from the lake several miles away. Doing it, it accidentally captured the man snorkeling in the lake. He was dropped down together with the water and miraculously survived. Upon receiving an anonymous tip, the police rushed to a house where a suspect was said to be. They have no physical description, but they do know his name is John. When the cops reach the place, they see 4 people sitting at a table: a carpenter, a firefighter, a truck driver, and a mechanic, none of which have name tags on their uniforms. Without a moment's hesitation, they arrest the firefighter. So, how did they know that's their guy? The firefighter was the only man in the room. All the others at the table were women and couldn't be named John. A man and his wife are driving down a highway when they run out of gas. So the husband decides to walk to the nearest gas station, which is about an hour's walk away. Before he heads off, he tells his spouse to stay in the car and lock all the doors and windows. The wife, bored and wanting to entertain herself, turns on the radio only to hear some shocking news. A notorious criminal has escaped from prison and was last seen on that very highway where the car is sitting. The reporter on the news gives a very detailed description of the escapee. The wife gets so scared that she quickly turns off the radio. She double-checks all the locks, but when she looks up, she sees the escapee just a few feet away from the car. When the man returns, he finds the car still all locked up, but his wife is nowhere to be seen. How is it possible? The answer is simple. The couple had been driving a convertible with the top down, and the woman wasn't, dare we say, terribly bright. An adventurer found a treasure chest in a cave that was guarded by a pirate. He had 3 keys, gold, silver, and black, but only one of them could open the chest. The pirate would give the adventurer only one chance to reach the treasure. If he chose the right key, he could take the chest. If he chose incorrectly, the pirate would attack him. Arr! The only clue was this cipher. Which is the right key?
The cipher is an anagram. Shuffle the letters a bit and you'll get the golden key. The adventurer went away unscathed, and the pirate was left frustrated and treasureless.
Welcome to Brightside U. You've got one more final before break, all riddles. Jot down your answers and we'll see what your score means at the end of the video. The university president's looking nervous. He gets to his office and opens the door. It's the end of the semester, and all the students are about to take their finals, except Intro to Geography. The teacher had to postpone that final for some reason. When he sits at his desk, he discovers that someone's been rummaging through his papers. They've stolen the physics final. How did they get in if the door and windows were closed? I'll give you 7 seconds for this one. That ventilation panel above the president's desk, it's been moved. Someone crawled all the way through there. Impressive. But who did it? To answer that, you need to solve a bunch of other riddles first. Then maybe you'll figure out the mystery at the end of the video. The president leaves his office and walks down the hall. There's a loud crack, and the power goes out all over the building. Someone must have flipped all the fuses. He heads down to the break room to see what's up. I mean, he's the president after all. Yep, someone's been messing around down here. There's 3 suspects in the room. The cleaner says somebody turned off the generator when he came in to clean. Rachel's a new transfer student. She says she totally got lost and ended up in here by accident. Simon's a junior. He has his phone in his hand. Says he was playing one of those video games where you have to find stuff. Which one of them shut off the power? Your 7 seconds starts now. It was Rachel. It's the end of the semester. She wouldn't have transferred right before finals. But why did she do it? Maybe she wanted to disrupt the physics final. He turns the power back on. Hungry. Probably a good time to grab a quick snack. When he gets to the cafeteria, there's a new problem waiting for him. Someone emptied a whole bag of sugar into a huge pot of soup. Which student was it? You have 7 seconds. All the suspects have bowls of soup in front of them, but one of them doesn't have a spoon, just a fork. He was never going to eat the soup. He knew it would taste disgusting. Just as the president finishes up his sandwich, he gets a text. It's from a professor. He needs help in his office ASAP. In the office are 3 students, standing around and looking guilty. The professor claims one of them graffitied the painting on his wall. Which one did it? You've got 7 seconds to figure it out. It's that one. She's covering her hands. There's probably some paint on her fingers that she's trying to hide from you. Next stop, the infamous physics exam. The president heads over to the exam room. Everything's quiet in there. Looks okay. All the students have their heads down, staring at their papers. But someone's cheating. The president can sense it somehow. Help him find the sneaky student. 7 seconds to scan the room. It's the guy with his legs crossed. Clever. He wrote the answers on his calf muscle. But where did he even get those answers? After a brief shakedown, he spills the beans. He got them from a friend. That hassle's over. Time for a coffee and a snack. A big one. But just then, a piercing beep smashes through the silence. The fire alarm! Oh, come on. Students file out of their classrooms, and the entire university has to be evacuated. The students are standing outside, looking at the building. No fire, no smoke even. The president gets a text from the alarm company. The alarm was triggered by a person, not a smoke detector. The president looks around. Time to round up the usual 4 suspects. Matt says he was in the bathroom when the alarm came on. Julia was taking the geography final. Clark and Lex were studying strange green meteorites together in the science lab. Which one of them is lying? You have 7 seconds starting now. It was Julia. The geography teacher postponed the final, remember? Why would she lie unless she had something to hide? Today's not really his day. Someone cut down a tree right in the middle of the quad. The caretaker saw 4 students hanging out under the tree this morning, and now it's gone. Time to interview the suspects. Emily says she's been in the library all day. Loads of people saw her. Sam claims he was in the cafeteria having some soup. Lewis was in the physics final, and Michael says he's been hitting the weights all day, trying to get buff for the beach. Who cut down the tree? Your 7 seconds starts now. It was obviously Sam. He said he was having some soup, but remember, if he had really been in the cafeteria, he would have mentioned the whole sugar thing. Plus, the president was in there and didn't see him. He's lying. On to the biology final. They've got a new teacher who's giving a unique type of final. The president sneaks in the back of the room. The teacher explains that she gave her students ficus seeds at the beginning of the semester. Whoever has the most beautiful ficus plant will get the highest grade. It's time to present the results. The students start to file into the classroom. Half of them are holding pots with beautiful green ficus trees. The other half have pots filled with plain old earth. No leaves, no nothing. The teacher says the students with empty pots all get an A. Why did the teacher do that? Solve this mystery in 7 seconds. Go! At the beginning of the semester, she gave everyone fake ficus seeds. The students who showed up with full-blooming plants must have bought a full-grown plant and stuck it in the pot. Ha! Busted! Last final of the day, philosophy. The young teacher is in there, waiting for all the students to take their seats. After that, he puts a bust of an ancient Greek philosopher on the table. The teacher says, "Write a short essay on the following topic: why this bust doesn't exist." The student with the most convincing argument gets an A, while everyone else gets a C. Huh, tough teacher. After an hour, the students hand in their papers. Most of them filled up the front and back, but one student only wrote 2 words, and she got the A. What did she write? I'll give you 7 seconds to figure it out. She wrote, "What bust?" The president heads outside again, this time for the parking lot. What? Someone took the tire right off of his car. How's he gonna get home? He still has a spare tire in his trunk, but the thieves took the bolts too. All 4 of them. What can he do? You have 7 seconds to come up with a plan. He needs to unscrew one bolt from each of the other 3 tires and attach them to the spare. Each tire now has 3 bolts. That'll be enough to get to the nearest service station. What an intense day. The president's ready to kick back for a few, but he gets another urgent text. There's broken glass all over the quad. Someone broke a window up there. The only 3 people around are a cook, a gardener, and a student. The cook says he's been boiling up a new soup for the last hour, since someone put sugar in the last one. The gardener admits he was up in a tree cutting branches. He saw a student break the glass. The student says he was studying in the library. I'll give you 7 seconds to figure out who's lying. The gardener's lying. How could he have been up in the tree? It had already been stolen. He broke the glass, probably just by accident. The day's finally over. The president heads over for the best tradition on campus, the post-finals party. It's in the basketball arena. There are lights, decorations, and even a DJ. Everyone's dressed up, looking relieved. Finals are over. The party goes all night, but around 4 a.m., someone accidentally slams the doors too hard, and it triggers the automatic locks. Everyone's trapped. The president can be the hero of the party. He just needs to find a way out, grab the spare keys from his office, and open the door from the outside. But how? One of the students, Eric, says he knows how to get out of the gym through a vent. The president looks at him, and his face goes red with anger. Why? Last riddle, 7 seconds. You can do it. Eric just gave himself away. He's obviously been in the ventilation shafts before, so it was probably him who stole the physics final. How did you do? Count up your correct answers, and let's see how you fared on your final exam. 0 to 3 points. Looks like you'll need to sign up for some classes over break. Keep watching riddle videos. You'll get better in no time. 4 to 7 points. Solid B+, but I'm sure you can do better next time. 8 to 12 points. You nailed that final. Leave your books in your locker and enjoy your well-deserved vacation.
On an overnight train in Budapest, Mrs. Celine got robbed. She is a very wealthy heiress, and she inherited a diamond necklace from her great-grandmother, which was the exact piece of jewelry that was robbed. She called the inspector to solve the crime. After interviewing most of the passengers on board the train, the inspector narrowed it down to 3 suspects. Mr. Bruges was an eccentric widower, carrying a mysterious bag. Mr. Blue was one of the waiters on the train, carrying his metallic tray around. And Mr. Pearls was a hoarder, carrying lots of suitcases. Take a look at the images and give it your best shot at solving this crime. Mr. Bruges is just trying to keep his cat safe inside his mysterious bag. He's no criminal. Mr. Pearls is sweating like that because he's carrying all his valuable belongings, so he's really afraid to be robbed. This leaves us Mr. Blue, the true culprit. If you look attentively, he has a diamond necklace poking out from under his metallic tray. The airport police are having a lot of trouble these days. Many convicts escape prison and are trying to leave the country as fast as they can. Take a look at this image. You gotta figure out ASAP who is the fugitive. It's the lady on the right. Although the woman in the wanted poster is blonde, she must have dyed her hair brown to get through security. But her lips and freckles are exactly the same as in the picture. Tess, Ivy, and Monica are in a pretty bad financial rut. They walked into a local supermarket planning on stealing something. What they didn't know was that there was a police officer watching the cameras at the store. Can you figure out who just stole some chips? It was Tess, the first lady. Sure, Ivy is sweating a lot, but she didn't take anything. But look at Tess's hair. She's hiding some chips in that ponytail. For this year's Super Bowl, Taylor decided to invite some friends over to her place. Her house was packed with some of her closest friends. But some random people also crashed the party. Out of nowhere, her friend Jackie screamed she saw a thief amongst them. Someone had stolen her golden bracelet. Take a look at the footage from the party. Sherlock, can you spot the thief? You sure have a good eye if you spot the thief in the middle of the crowd. He was really swift in sneaking behind that woman and stealing her bracelet. Way to go, you! John started his Sunday morning by jogging around the park near his house. When he returned, he found out very unpleasant news. Someone had stolen his car. He questioned 3 of his neighbors. Henry said he had been playing video games for the past 12 hours and hadn't left his basement during all that time. Rosie said she was a gardener and had been planting daisies in the public area all morning. She also said she saw a suspicious man who opened John's car using a knife. Jack said he had seen John's car when he went out for groceries, but when he returned home, it was gone. After listening to the suspects, John immediately knew who had done it. Can you tell who it was? It was Rosie. She said she'd been planting daisies, but look, there are only rose bushes in this area. Bernard is the owner of a meat shop downtown. He sells really expensive meat. As soon as he opened his shop, he had a rush of customers coming in to buy their daily meat. During the rush, he was so busy attending to the customers that he didn't see that someone stole the bacon. Who's the thief here? It's the guy in the suit. The dog is smelling his bag like there's some bacon inside it. He's definitely it. Jane was playing a video game when she was swallowed by the game. The next thing she knows, she's facing 3 mischievous robots. One of them stole her game controller, so she can't go back to her own reality. You gotta help Jane figure out which robot stole her controller. So far, you know that Robot A said, "B is the thief," and that the real thief always tells the truth. Can you solve this mystery with such little information? Robot C is the culprit. Let's check it out really quickly. If A was telling the truth, then it would be the thief. But it's impossible because A claims that B is the thief. B is also not the thief since A's claim that B is the thief is a lie. This just leaves us with the last option, Robot C. Betty was traveling across France. One night, she gave herself a treat by booking a table at an expensive restaurant. She was halfway through dinner when an elderly woman approached her. The woman said she looked a lot like her daughter and asked her for a favor. Since she hadn't spoken to her daughter for ages, she asked Betty to say, "Goodbye, Mother," as she left the restaurant. Betty thought it was super strange, but agreed. Soon after, she received the shock of her life. Guess what it was and share your 2 cents with us below. Betty was surprised with the bill which belonged to the elderly woman. She had asked the waiter to collect the bill from her daughter. Uh-oh, Betty. Can't believe you fell for that. Anna sat down to watch her favorite TV show. She made some popcorn, turned on the TV, and nestled comfortably to binge watch an entire season. Her cat Pepper sat down next to her. But after 5 minutes of screen time, Anna suddenly passed out. Take a look at the image. Can you guess what happened there? Anna's cat, Pepper, got scared with a loud thump that came from the TV. It jumped on top of Anna and it scared the life out of her. That's why she passed out. The customer was saying that he had ordered soup, while the waiter was saying that he had only ordered tea. Henry saw something that immediately showed him who was lying. Prove to us that you've got the sharpest eye and find out what Henry saw. The customer is the one who's lying. Behind him, there's a huge sign that says the restaurant only serves soup from 1 to 4 p.m. Since it was 8 p.m. in the evening, the waiter would have never accepted the customer's order in the first place. It was a lovely spring morning, so Margaret decided to take her kids to the park for some fresh air. While the kids played in the grass, Margaret decided to catch up on her reading. She left her bag right beside her, next to a stranger. In a few minutes, she noticed the bag was stolen. We need your detective skills here. Can you figure out who the thief was? The person came out from the bush behind the bench where Margaret was seated. He was so quick it was nearly impossible to see him. Yikes! Robbie was invited to a typical college party. A lot of his friends were there, but there were also some random people. Out of nowhere, the lights went dark, and before he knew it, Robbie was waking up with a vampire bite on his neck. Take a look at some footage from the beginning of the party. Who's a vampire here? It's the guy on the corner. Look at the mirror. He has no reflection. He must be the vampire.
So Mia wanted to go to the party her classmate was throwing, but her father didn't let her. Mia thought for a while and remembered her grandparents had just moved to their new one-story country house. She asked her dad if she could visit them at the weekend, and the man agreed. But Mia went to the party instead. When she got back home after the weekend, her father asked her if she had had a good time. Mia replied she helped in the garden a little and spent the rest of the day upstairs. Her father immediately knew she was lying. How? Mia said she'd been upstairs, but her grandparents' house is a one-story cottage. Liar, liar, pants on fire. 11 plus 3 equals 2. 10 plus 5 equals 3. Now how is that possible? It makes sense when we talk about time. 11 o'clock plus 3 hours is 2 o'clock. 10 o'clock plus 5 hours is 3 o'clock. One king wants to find out which of his 3 sons is the smartest. He takes 3 chests and puts his crown in one of them. On each chest there's a statement, but only one of these statements is true. The crown is in this chest. The crown isn't in this chest. The crown isn't in chest number 1. Each person can only open one chest. The son who figures out where the crown is will be the next king. But can you solve this riddle? If the first statement is true, the other 2 must be false. It's not so because the second statement turns out to be correct. So this assumption's wrong. If the second statement is true, the crown isn't in the first chest. It's not in the second chest either. Then it must be in the third one. But this makes the third statement correct, although it shouldn't be. If the third statement is true, the first one's wrong and there's no crown in the first chest. The second statement's also wrong. Now there are no contradictions. The crown's in the second chest. Here's a sequence of letters. Which letter should you add? The missing letter is F. If you put it at the end, you'll get E. James and Taylor were best friends in elementary school. Unfortunately, when the children were 10, James and his parents moved to another state. The friends lost contact. 15 years later, James and Taylor accidentally bumped into each other in a cafe. It was their first meeting since school. They recognized each other and started talking. It turned out Taylor was already married and had a daughter. "Wow," said James, "does she look like her dad?" "Oh no," Taylor said, "the girl's a mini version of her mother." "Ah, so she must be a blonde with blue eyes." This time, James was right. How did he understand that? Taylor's a girl. She's the mother, and James only needed to describe her. You're outside a room with 3 switches in the off position. Your task is to find out which one turns on the light in the room. You can flip as many switches as you want, but you can walk into the room and check if the light's on only once. How can you understand which switch controls the light bulb? Turn on 2 random switches and wait for a couple of minutes. Then, turn one of them off and walk into the room. If the light's on, the switch connected to the bulb is the one you left in the on position. If the room's dark, touch the light bulb. If it's hot, then the controlling switch is the one you just turned off. If the light bulb is cold, the correct switch is the only one you haven't touched. Esme got lost in the forest. She was wandering around for the whole day. Finally, at dusk, she saw a spooky house. A witch lived there. The girl had nowhere else to go, so she entered the house and asked for help. The witch said if Esme solved her riddle, she'd be free to leave in the morning. Here's how the riddle went: 17J, 70M, 96A, 162J, 256S, 354. What's the missing letter? The 17th day of the year is in January. The 70th day of the year is in March. The 96th is in April. The 162nd in June. And the day 256 is in September. Day 354 is in December. The missing letter is D. A young girl got her first job as a maid in a rich lady's house. Once, when she was tidying up, she noticed a very expensive collection of books. She made a break to look through one of them and then returned it to the shelf. The girl kept working until the very evening. No one else was at home. After finishing her work, the maid returned to the shelf and discovered that the sixth book was missing. But she clearly remembered that the book had been there before. It was the one she had been looking through. When the lady returned, the girl confessed she'd lost the book. But the woman only laughed and said everything was fine. Nothing was missing. How come? The collection had 8 books. The 9th book was actually the 6th one. The girl accidentally put it upside down. Right before Christmas, the police got information that a famous thief named Alfonso had left Chile. He boarded the plane to Los Angeles. The only thing the detectives knew about the man was that he had a beard. At the airport, the police officers met a group of people. They had just arrived from different countries. The detectives noticed 4 men with beards and interrogated them. The first one said he'd come from London. The second told the police he arrived from Chile, but his name was Cristiano. The third man answered he'd come from Sweden, and the fourth one was also from London. The police didn't even need to check their plane tickets to spot the criminal. How did they know? It's Christmas time, but the man who supposedly came from Sweden is dressed too lightly for that climate. He must have arrived from Chile, where it's summer. A road accident happened on a foggy day. 2 drivers were taken to a hospital. Each of them had a concussion. Interestingly, their cars didn't even have a scratch. What happened? The drivers were going in opposite directions. It was foggy, so they stuck their heads out of the window. They didn't notice each other and hit their heads. Ow! Samantha was born on January 27th. For the first 20 years of her life, she celebrated her birthday in the winter. But starting with her 21st birthday, she began celebrating it in the summer. Why? She moved to the southern hemisphere, where it's summer in January. 2 sisters, Ava and Nicole, are very honest girls. They always tell the truth, except for one day a year. On their birthdays, they always lie. Today is September 17th, and you ask them when their birthdays are. Ava says hers was yesterday, and Nicole says her birthday is tomorrow. The next day, you ask them again, and they say the exact same thing. Can you guess when their birthdays are? They can't have 2 birthdays. It means that one day one of them lied, and the next day it was the other's turn. Since Ava mentioned yesterday, her birthday must come first. So Ava's birthday is on September 17th, and Nicole's on September 18th. Bethany, Tommy, Eliza, and James spent the whole day at home alone. Their mother didn't let them enter her room. When she came back in the evening, she wanted to eat her chocolate bar, but it was gone. She went downstairs and asked the kids who had eaten her treat. Bethany said she'd been doing her algebra homework the whole day and hadn't eaten anything at all. Tommy replied he'd been playing football outside. Eliza said she didn't even know where their mom kept chocolate. And James simply claimed it hadn't been him. Their mom knew immediately who had taken her chocolate. How did she figure it out? It was Eliza. The mother never mentioned what kind of treat was missing, but Eliza somehow knew it was chocolate. The father of identical quadruplets, Aurora, Belle, Chloe, and Dana, called the teacher and asked her to let Dana leave earlier. She had a doctor's appointment. The teacher couldn't tell the girls apart. To have some fun, the quadruplets refused to confess who was who, but gave their teacher a hint. Chloe is somewhere in the middle. Dana is to the left of Belle and to the right of Aurora. Aurora is right next to Dana. How can the teacher identify the girls? Chloe is somewhere in the middle, and since Dana has someone on both sides of her, she must be in the middle too. If Chloe was the second, Dana would be the third. Then Dana would be to the left of Belle, and Belle would be the fourth. Then Aurora must be the first. But it doesn't work, because Aurora and Dana have to be next to each other. If we switch Chloe and Dana, Dana will be right next to Aurora, but still to the left of Belle. So the right order is Aurora, Dana, Chloe, and Belle. Dana's the second girl. Mark and Ben are waiting for the elevator. Mark has to go down to the first floor, and Ben's going to have some dinner up on the 10th. Two elevators arrive at the same time, and they both get in different elevators. Well, one of them isn't too smart. Which one? It's Ben. He needs to go up, but his elevator's going down. You're chilling watching TV when you hear the doorbell. You aren't expecting anyone, but you go to the door anyway and open it. There's no one there, just a basket of candies and a letter. The letter says, "Dear Charlie, thank you very much for your help. I really like you and wanted to ask if you want to go out sometime. All my love, always." There's no name on the letter and you have no clue who it could be from. Luckily, there's a short little riddle. 3rd of August, 4th of February, 2nd of May, 3rd of December, 6th of October. Can you crack the code and find out who your secret admirer is? The 3rd of August means the third letter in August, which is G. The fourth letter of February is R. The second letter of May is A. The third letter of December is C. And the sixth letter of October is E. So, your secret admirer's name is Grace. Do you even know anyone named Grace? You open your eyes and find yourself in a dungeon. There are a couple of torches around to light the room up a bit. You walk over to the door and try to open it. But, of course, it's locked. There's 3 buttons on the right side of the door, a red one, a purple one, and a yellow one. One of them will set you free, and the other 2 will lock you in forever. But you're lucky. There's a hint. NTEROWLUTPPB. Buy a vowel, will ya? Which button should you press to escape? If you put the letters in the right order, you'll get purple button. Since only one button opens the door and the other 2 trap you in, you gotta try your luck with the purple one. Jessie is a mom of 3 who works as a detective. She comes home late one night and goes right into the kitchen to get dinner ready. Waiting for her in there, a huge mess. Looks like someone already had their dinner, a chocolate pasta sandwich. She doesn't let her kids eat that kind of stuff. So she goes upstairs and rounds up all her kids. Katie, Serena, and Hannah are all busy doing their homework. They all deny eating chocolate pasta. But she still knows who it was. Who's lying, and how did Jessie know? Back in the kitchen, the knife's on the right-hand side of the chocolate pasta. That means the person who made the sandwich is left-handed. She has only one left-handed kid, and that's Hannah. You get lost in the forest, and you end up wandering around the whole day. Finally, at sunset, you come across a small and spooky house. Looks like a witch lives there. You have no other choice, so you go in and ask her to show you the way out of this crazy forest. The witch agrees, but on one condition. You have to play a game. If you answer correctly, she lets you go. If you make a mistake, you have to stay with her forever. Here's the question. You have something that's yours. You barely use it, but others use it a lot. What is it? It's your name. You're abroad, enjoying the sun and a much-needed vacation. One day at the beach, you meet a beautiful woman and spend the whole day with her. In the evening, you ask her if you can meet again tomorrow. She smiles and says yes, if you can guess where she comes from. But she really likes you, so she gives you a hint. The place I'm from is 2 of Armenia, 1 of Germany, 2 of England, 1 of Turkey, 2 of India, and 1 of Australia. Can you guess where she's from? Two of Armenia means you have to take the first 2 letters of the name Armenia, A-R. The rest are the same. 1 of Germany is G, 2 of England is E-N, 1 of Turkey is T, I-N from India, and A from Australia. Together, they make Argentina. That was a lot of work. She better be worth it. You're wandering in a different forest and you come across a picnic. They're all witches. You try to hide before they notice you, but uh-oh. What do they want? Actually, they're pretty chill. They just need a little help. There are 8 of them, and one of them celebrating her 999th birthday. They've got a birthday cake, but there's a problem. And no, it's not that there's too many candles and too little cake. Their magic knife can only make 3 cuts, and they can't figure out how to cut the cake into 8 pieces. Can you figure it out? First, cut the cake in half. Then make another cut so there are 4 equal pieces. Now, cut the cake sideways through the middle so it has 2 layers. Now, everybody gets a piece. Helena finally got herself a new guitar. She wanted to play it right away, but she had school. She locked it in her room and left. When she got home that evening, the guitar was gone. Her family was kind of fun. They were always pulling pranks on each other. She asked everyone about her guitar. Here's what they said. Her mom said she hadn't even seen the guitar. Her dad said he saw it when he walked past her room, but then he didn't go in because he had a lot of work to do. Her brother said he was at home, but spent the whole day downstairs. Helena solved the mystery instantly. Can you figure it out? Her dad's lying. He said he saw the guitar while walking past her room, but that would be impossible. She locked the door on her way out. Mrs. Miller left the house and put a $100 bill in the dining room for her son. But the son said he never saw the money. There were 3 other people in the house that morning: Stephen, the gardener, Bill, the cook, and Molly, the housemaid. Steve said he saw the money, but he's an honest man. He'd never take it. Bill said he spent the morning in the kitchen and didn't see the money at all. Molly said she had to open the kitchen window but didn't want the bill to fly away. So she put it in this book between pages 35 and 36. Can you tell who's lying? Molly is. She couldn't have put the money between pages 35 and 36. They're two sides of the same page. Kevin's a single father of 4. He was working late one evening and got a call from a neighbor. The neighbor just saw one of his daughters walking around with her friends in a totally different neighborhood. It was dark, so the neighbor couldn't tell which daughter it was. When Kevin came back home, he asked his daughters which one of them was out after dark. Lily said she was reading all evening. Madison said she was playing Uno. Riley said she was in the backyard in the pool. Ava said she was talking to a friend in her room. Kevin immediately knew who was lying. Do you? It was Madison. She couldn't have been playing Uno by herself. She's hiding something. Josh was walking in a forest at night and came across an old castle. He was curious, so he found a way in and started walking down a corridor. Pretty soon, he met 3 people. They said they were 2 werewolves and a vampire. They wanted to keep Josh in there forever, but in the end decided to give him one chance to get away. He had to guess who the vampire was. He was allowed to ask the same question to each of them as long as it wasn't, "Are you a vampire?" Josh asked, "What's your eye color?" Why did he ask it, and how would that even help him? Vampires don't have a reflection in the mirror and don't show up in photos. The vampire probably wouldn't know what color eyes it had. Bonus time! Can you think of any other question that Josh could have asked those 3 guys? How well do you know your vampires and werewolves?
Carl and his wife Olivia had dinner. They ate the same dishes: French fries, some fish, and vegetable salad. Half an hour later, Carl felt unwell and called the ambulance. But when specialists arrived, he was already unconscious. The man was immediately taken to a hospital. Luckily, doctors had enough time to save him. When they figured out what was wrong with Carl, everyone was shocked. The man had been poisoned. But how could it happen? He and his wife ate the same dishes, but Olivia was perfectly fine. Even more surprising, the next day, the police arrested the woman for trying to poison her husband. How come? Olivia made all the dishes not salty enough and put poison in the salt shaker. Peter graduated from the police academy and began to work as a trainee detective. 1 week after the guy started his new job, he already had the first tricky case on his hands. One of his colleagues was investigating a series of crimes connected with smuggling. She was close to solving the case, but several days ago, the woman disappeared. Peter visited the last location where his colleague was spotted and found a note: 710-57735-34-5508-517718. Peter has 3 suspects: Bill, a manager in an oil company; Todd, a jeweler; and John, a car dealer. Who's the criminal? Peter has managed to prove he deserves his detective badge. The guy turned the message upside down and tried to read it that way. Surprisingly, the letters made rather legible words. Bill is boss. He sells oil. Something went wrong in a super-secret laboratory. There was a leak of a newly developed experimental chemical, and it made several plants and animals mutate in the blink of an eye. Scientists ended up locked in one room with the vicious monsters. One of the researchers managed to figure out how they could get out of this dire situation, but the substance they needed was in another part of the laboratory. The scientists could get there through one of 3 corridors. The first was guarded by fire-breathing crocodiles. Hey, it was an experimental laboratory after all. The second corridor was filled with meat-eating sunflowers with extra sharp teeth. And the third passage was swarming with venomous bees. Which one should the scientists choose? they should opt for the corridor with the sunflowers. Those are plants, and however scary they are, they can't move. Terry and Alice fell in love and started going out, but the woman's best friend Sarah was jealous of their relationship. Alice didn't want to lose her friendship and tried to keep the dates with her boyfriend in secret. That's why she left him coded messages with the places where they were going to meet. That day, Terry found a new note. It looked like this. At first, he was puzzled, but soon enough, he realized where he was going to see Alice. Can you figure it out? Alice told Terry to meet her at the street corner. Patrick called the police. The man seemed to be worried sick. "My wife Victoria took our dog for a walk in the afternoon. Several hours ago, our pooch returned alone. I don't know where Vicky is." The police questioned the suspects. Mrs. Summers said she'd been watching TV all day long. "I was busy delivering the mail," said the postman. "I didn't have time to linger in this area, and I didn't see anything." And Mr. Thomas told the police he'd been working in his home office. The detective knew at once one of these people was lying. Who was it? It was the postman. His sleeve is a bit torn, and there's a dog bite on his arm. Plus, some black fur is stuck to his pants. Victoria's dog probably tried to protect the woman. 3 expensive watches have been stolen from Mr. Brown's store this year. The police can't help the poor man. He decides to hire a private detective. When Laura arrives, she immediately asks for the CCTV footage from January to December. After watching it, she tells the store owner who the thief is. What has she noticed in the video? The same guy came to the store several times, in April, August, and November. And every time, he has a cast on his arm. But no broken bone would need 8 months to heal. Joe had a friend, Randy, who never answered questions directly. Once, Joe sent Randy a message, inviting him to join their common friends in a cafe. Randy's answer was kinda weird. "Sorry, no money. Job in job." Luckily, Joe knew his friend well enough to understand what he meant. But can you figure it out? Randy meant he had no money because he was in between jobs. The next time Joe texted Randy was when he needed some advice. Despite all his quirks, his friend was very good at finding solutions to difficult situations. So Joe wrote, "My girlfriend took my professional camera without asking permission, and then she accidentally smashed it. What should I do?" The answer was bizarre, not that it was unexpected. Give, get, give, get, give, get, give, get. At first, Joe didn't think he wanted to follow this advice, but a bit later, he decided it was the best course of action. What was the advice? Forgive and forget. Dylan was an extremely popular guy in his office. Tall, handsome, funny, and friendly. But there was one thing that made certain people dislike him. The man had a new girlfriend every month. That Friday, Dylan came to work happier than he'd ever felt. He finally bought the car of his dreams. At lunchtime, he went to the parking lot to check in on his new toy. Oh no! His car was a mess, scratched and covered in paint. Dylan went pale and called security. He had 3 suspects, all of them his exes. Andrea said she didn't even know Dylan had got a new car. Catherine answered she'd been preparing a report for their boss and hadn't left her desk. And Mila told the guy she'd forgiven him long ago. Who ruined Dylan's car? It was Catherine. She had some smeared paint on her skirt. and the color is the same as the paint on the man's car. Two maids work in a small hotel in the mountains. One day, the hotel owner finds out one of them regularly steals stuff from guests, but he doesn't know which one it is. Look at these maids cleaning the rooms. Can you help the owner understand who's guilty? The maid on the right hasn't noticed the ring under the sofa. She might not be a great cleaner, but also not a thief. As for the maid on the left, she's spotted the ring and put it in her bucket. It means she's going to take it for herself after she finishes cleaning. She's the one who steals things. One afternoon, all the money was stolen from the register of a small cafe on the beach. The police have 5 suspects. All of them claim they haven't been to the cafe in the past hour. Look at them closely and try to figure out who's the thief. It's the guy with a cocktail in his hand. He definitely bought it in the cafe. But then, why did he lie about not visiting the place? Police officer Cheryl Adams was visiting her colleagues in another town. She was walking along the river, taking pictures to send to her husband, when a man crashed into her. They both fell to the ground. After helping Cheryl to her feet, the man started to apologize. It turned out someone had stolen his wallet, and he was trying to catch the thief. "I was painting my boat, and my wallet was lying next to me. But then I got distracted, just for a moment. But when I turned back, the wallet wasn't there anymore." Cheryl understood the thief couldn't have gone far. She pulled the man to the nearby pier. There were 4 people there. After looking at them closely, the police officer knew who the thief was. Now it's your turn to figure it out. It's the man who's talking on the phone. There's some green paint on his feet. Julia came to have lunch in her favorite restaurant. She occupied a table near the window and put her bag in the seat next to her. Once the woman gave her order to the waiter, she went to the bathroom to wash her hands. But when she returned to the table, her bag was open and her wallet was missing. The waiter told her he had noticed only one man passing by her table. He was short, with a tattoo on his neck. He seemed to go out to the terrace. Julia rushed there and saw 3 people sitting at their tables. She looked at them closely and soon understood who'd taken her wallet. Who was the thief? It's the young woman on the right. You can see a wig and some men's clothing in her bag. Plus, she's wearing a turtleneck